we're gathered here today to say goodbye to my feet. And I promise you, I'll take care of you after we're done with this. But for now, we have to say goodbye.
Welcome to the Endurance Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Turner. I'm an avid ultra-endurance cyclist, bikepacker, and runner, and I'm on a journey to learn and share everything I can about how people can push beyond their limits. This podcast will explore all aspects of endurance through conversations with people I find unique and interesting. There's always an amazing story of accomplishment and failure, and always something to learn. I run this podcast from an off-grid mobile studio I've created so I can travel to the guests and have authentic, in-person conversations, because I believe in the importance and power of face-to-face conversations. Thank you for watching and listening. I wanted to let you know a few different ways that you can support this podcast. Of course, you can like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Tell other people about it. Tell your friends and family. If you think these conversations I'm having are valuable as I think they are, share it. Send it out. Ask them to subscribe. That would be amazing. That's a free way that you can support. Another way you can support is by financially support is by becoming a member on either YouTube or Spotify. Those links are always in the description of all the videos. And YouTube members do get some extra perks like member shoutouts during the podcast, priority reply to comments, and best of all, you get early access to new videos that I'm releasing. You can also, if you don't want to sign up for a recurring membership, you can also show me your support by sending a one-time gift using what YouTube calls the Super Thanks feature. So when you're watching a video, down at the bottom, there's the little buttons, the thumbs up, thumbs down button. And right next to that, there is a heart with a little dollar sign in the middle, and it says thanks next to it. That is the Super Thanks button. So if you click that, it'll allow you to give a one-time gift, financial gift of your choice. And it's just incredible. Like, seeing the support that I've gotten so far from both members and from Super Thanks is just amazing. And it is definitely allowing me to, keep this thing rolling down the tracks. I'd like to give a quick few minutes mention of a few products and companies that I love using and I just can't stop talking about. The first one is Squirrel's Nut Butter. They make adventure lube, some of the best adventure lube in the business. I use their saddle butter for riding and bikepacking. It has been a complete game changer in my ability to cycle further and farther without getting saddle sores. And I've also used their anti-chafe for running, different running events that I've done. It's just incredible stuff. It's all natural, sustainable packaging, amazing people, manufactured in Flagstaff. The whole story just feels good. If you haven't had a chance, check out the episode I did with Chris Thornley. He is the owner and operator of Squirrel's Nut Butter, and he's an amazing guy and just has an amazing backstory as well. So I do have a new coupon code for you, 15% off any products online. That code is Endurance15, ENDURANCE 15, for 15% off. There's also a link in the description below that'll automatically apply that coupon code to your shopping cart. So please use the code. It'll let them know that their support of this podcast is paying off for them. So, and just buy the product. It's incredible stuff. So go check it out. squirrelsnutbutter.com. And another company I'd like to mention quickly is Cocodona, another local Flagstaff company. They make shoe gaiters, shoe traction, and crampons. I particularly like their shoe gaiters and shoe traction. I use the gaiters for bike packing, so keep all the debris out of my shoes with all that hike-a-bike, and use the shoe traction for my wintertime running activities here in Flagstaff when it's icy. I also did a podcast with Chris Bunch. Go check it out. He's one of the product engineers behind the shoe traction, and it just like completely blew my mind how cool some of that engineering stuff is. Some of the thought that went into the design on those products that make them different than, say, knockoff products that you could buy on Amazon. So go check them out, Cocodona.com. And the last product company I'd like to mention is Dispersed Bikepacking Gear. Andrew and Katie Stremke are amazing human beings. They engineer, design, and sew some of the best bike packing bags in the business. So go check them out. They sew them out of their van. They have a little workshop now. They're expanding, so it's great to see that. Disperse.bike is their website. If I'm gonna buy, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If I'm gonna buy bike packing bags, I'm gonna do it from someone who's completed the Triple Crown race, which is the Colorado Trail Race, Arizona Trail Race, and Tour Divide, because those bags have been through the ringer. So he knows how to make a good bag. So go check him out. Today's returning guest is an ultra endurance runner, and she just completed for the second time the Cocodona 250-mile running race. She is my wife and was my first podcast guest. And today's episode, we're going to spend a little time debriefing from the Cocodona 250-mile running race. So I hope you enjoy this podcast with Jessica Turner. We're going to do XCUs, extreme close-ups of your feet.
For OnlyFans?
Yeah, for OnlyFans. We're done with this whole
they're pretty
day job thing. We're going toenails. I'm sure people on OnlyFans would buy your toenails.
gross.
You don't think?
I mean, I think, but that's just
People buy like used underwear on OnlyFans.
no.
They would definitely take your toenails, especially after the journey that they've been through.
Stop it.
I have no problem with you selling. I just want to let you know that.
Okay.
I have no problem with you selling your toenails on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Your underwear, I don't know. I'd have to really look at how much you're charging for it first.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I had 2 fall off.
Okay.
So
Well,
far. I
So-
probably have about 6 more.
your toenails fell off. Why did your toenails fall off? Why don't you go elaborate?
I think, okay, wait. I only have 3 that didn't turn black. Because Mingus.
From Mingus. We're rolling.
I know.
We're keeping the OnlyFans thing in there.
Oh, great.
Okay, so let's just get into it. Mingus the Beast.
I brought notes.
Okay, you brought some notes.
So, I don't know. I think, should we start from the beginning?
Well, let's start with your finish time.
Okay. Finish time. Oh my gosh.
I have 4 days, 6 hours, and 15 minutes from Track Leaders,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
which is 8 or 10 hours faster.
Yeah, 9 hours and 12 minutes, I think.
9 hours and 12 minutes faster than
Last year.
last year's time.
Mhm.
And that was your goal?
Yeah, I would say I didn't really want to. I tried to put a number around what I thought my best effort would be. And I threw out the number 10 hours. And I was cautious about saying that because it seemed really ambitious. But I thought with everything we learned from last year, there was significant chunks of time that I thought I could improve on. And so after looking at everything, I thought 10 hours I feel like is doable. And then but that was based on effort, not on time, just where we could clean stuff up.
Which was?
Aid stations, sleeps. By the end of the first year, the last few aid stations, you had kind of figured out what I needed. I figured out how to communicate what I needed. We were in the zone on the last few aid stations. But before that, there was a lot of just wasted time just sitting there, trying to find stuff, or me trying to sleep when I wasn't really sleeping. And then the aid stations that you weren't there, in that first part of the race where you can't be there, I was just dwelling on how hard the course was instead of walking into an aid station, knowing what I needed to get, regrouping and going. Last year was oh my God, this is so hard. I don't know what I
Mhm.
need,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But like as I approached aid stations this year, I kind of had an idea of my body's craving salt, my body's craving protein, whatever it is. Like I need 10 minutes of sleep or whatever. Like, so all of that was just places to clean up for this year's race.
But was there a performance was there a planned performance increase, like in your training plan where
Yeah.
you're trying to go faster as well?
Yeah. So I think the thing about Cocodona is, yes, there's sections that are very technical and lots of climbing, but there are a lot of runnable sections too. And that's where I wanted to improve on this year, because I knew that at certain points I just didn't want to run. I was just like, I just want this to be over. And I was just like upset last year. And I was like, this is so hard. But this year I wanted to be able to run those sections and not, I don't know, just like dwell in how daunting the overall task was.
Yeah, keep moving when you weren't moving.
Yes.
Right? Maybe not move fast. Well, that is moving faster, I
Well,
guess. It's not like running versus walking.
But definitely the pace isn't fast, but it's faster than walking. And I don't know, like it's not a hard effort. It's, it's a jog. It's not a hard effort.
Yeah.
So yeah. So those were the points that I wanted to improve upon that like gave me the goal of like 10 hours faster.
Right. So sleep, aid station efficiency, and incrementally fast moving time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the goal, is to shave off the 10 hours.
Yeah.
Right. And of those three things, do you think, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it here in a little bit, but do you think there was one that you did better than the others?
Well, this year I actually slept. Last year I laid down. And although it's restful to lay down, it's not like when you're sleeping. This year I figured out that you don't try to sleep on your side, and I'm a side sleeper. So that was really hard for me. But like once you're at a point that you're so tired, you don't care and you just like fall asleep. So I learned like just lay on your back flat, and then I was out like within a couple of seconds because you're just so tired. And last year I was super tired, but I was like on my side, and then like this muscle would like be cramping because like, you're just like everything's overworked.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really sleep last year. So I really think like the quality of sleep that I got this year was so good that I felt like I could move faster for those sections, and I felt like I could be clearer in the head at the aid stations to move faster. So I think sleep was like the weird missing thing that made everything better too.
Sleep efficiency.
Yes.
Yeah. Not time.
Yes.
But sleep efficiency.
Right. I think I actually laid down for less time this year than I did last year, but I got almost 100% sleep every time I laid down.
Better quality. Also, the eye mask.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
Medical grade earplugs.
Yeah. Everybody who does Cocodona should do this. And I'm not joking, because last year I was looking at a guy who had an eye mask and I was like, that's weird. You just close your eyes, but it makes a huge difference. And the earplugs are, I can't say enough good things about them, because you just like, then are just like, you don't hear anything, you're out. And yeah, like all the like little noises and stuff you don't hear. And they do a good job in a few of those aid stations like Whiskey Row and Sedona. They have like noise machines set up.
Like white noise?
Yeah, like to try to like drown out the other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that that's helpful also, like if you're not going to have earplugs, but just take earplugs. And even on the sections that I didn't see you and I needed to lay down, I had not my like custom ones, but just like some like foam ones.
Yeah.
I used those. Like I had those in my pack as like if I need to sleep when I'm not around Dylan, then I'm going to throw these in. And they did help, but they aren't as good as the like real ones.
And your real ones were, you went to an audiologist
Mm-hmm.
and they were covered under insurance?
No, I paid for them out of pocket.
How much were they?
They were like $200.
Okay.
I think I got like, I don't know, $17 back from insurance. So basically not covered.
Okay.
But I wear them every night now too, not just for Cocodona.
Right. Yeah. They're 365 days a year.
Yeah.
Earplugs.
Game changer.
Right.
The
Right. And
sleep quality is stellar.
Yeah. And I have like the cheapo foam ones, like for target shooting or whatever.
Yeah.
And I carry those bike packing too, and a really lightweight eye mask bike packing.
Yeah.
Because it makes a difference. Just covering my face makes a difference.
It does.
For the quality of sleep.
I will say, like, I think if my ear canals weren't so tiny, that the foam ones would work, but my ear canals are tiny.
I see.
So they're very painful to put the foam ones in like day after day.
Right, because you tried that.
Yeah.
And then yeah. So yeah, if you at least get the cheapo ones, I think there's like a bottle of like 50 of them because I always lose them.
Yeah.
And I just have earplugs like everywhere in every bag. There's just like one or two half dirty earplugs.
Yeah, I found one in the kitchen.
Yeah, because you never know when you're going to need some earplugs. So anyway, okay, so that's huge tip there. Huge thing learned from last year is quality of sleep.
Yeah.
And what is it about laying on the back that's...
I think just because like that's more of the position you're moving when you're running is like this straightforward motion. And so like when you're just laying on your back, like you're not putting extra pressure on a muscle that, you know, like when you're laying on your side, it's like your leg is like pulled and then like this whole muscle is just like cramping.
And
so
they're like cots, right?
They do have cots. Yeah. And we can get into this further, but like at Camp Wamatochik, they had cots, but I was like, I don't want to mess with having to walk over there, set stuff up, set an alarm. Like, I was like, can I just lay here? And I just like laid, they had like a little stage, and I was like, I'm just going to lay on this stage and use my little Houdini Patagonia jacket as my pillow. Like, I mean, it's like this big, but I just put my head on that and laid flat and slept for 30 minutes. So, I mean, I think the cots are ideal for sleeping, but I knew I didn't want to sleep a ton at that aid station. So I didn't want to mess with the time wasted to go get a cot.
Yeah. So. Got it. Okay, cool. So sleep was big, efficiency of running, and, time and aid stations. Let's dive into let's kind of dive into the bring me through. Let's start through the sections, starting at the beginning. Maybe compare to last year.
Yeah. So this year the start line moved to, what is it? Deep Canyon Ranch?
Yeah. Deep Valley, Deep Canyon,
something like
Hidden
that.
Valley Ranch. It's not Hidden Valley Ranch.
So that was a little bit of a change because last year you had to go through the Agua Fria within the first 2 miles and get your feet wet. And last year there was so much water, there was no way around getting your feet wet unless you took your shoes off, and then like you're wasting time taking your shoes off to cross this little creek. Not creek. It actually was flowing pretty good last year. So this year you start out at like this big grassy area, which was nice because there was a lot of space for everyone to spread out because there were a lot more people this year. And then you kind of go up this little climb, and then you've got some nice single track, and then it kind of connects with a dirt road, and then you turn off on this wash. It's not a trail.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of scrambly. I feel like it's like 1.5 miles. I could be wrong on that, but it's like, it's not, you can't move quickly on it. You just have to like grind through it. And then once you get through that, you tee up with Black Canyon Trail, and then that's just beautiful single track, just super flowy and gorgeous. And then you're back on the same course.
And this was probably something they just had to do because the start line got changed.
Yeah, totally. So
They
like
were
that,
just like, how are we going to get from here to there?
yeah, and somehow they got permitting for it. So, which was fine. Like I think it kind of starts the adventure part of it, and so it's just a little slow in that section, but then so that morning it was kind of wild because they were issuing the spot trackers, and there were so many more people that they had to start later because they couldn't get them all issued in time.
Right.
That was pretty crazy to see because last year you literally just walked up to the table and they like strapped it to you and you were on your way.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, there was like 5 minutes till the race started, and there was this giant line for the spot trackers, and I was just looking at it like, I wonder how that's going to work out.
Yeah.
And then they extended the
I ran into
start.
Bryant. He had gotten his and he was like walking back on the line and like saw me, and I was like, dude, what's happening? He's like, there's so many more people.
Mhm.
So it was kind of crazy to like, I guess I didn't realize how many more people, but also I think just, I don't know. I mean, it's good to see the sport grow, right? Like, and see that it sold out and you know.
So they just keep extending the cap?
Well, no. So this year they had some permitting issues with the Mexican spotted owl. So they had to reduce the number that they originally, I can't remember the total number, but it was like 400. And then the Forest Service came back and said like, oh, you can only have whatever,
Okay,
270. But last year I know there were less people, but yeah.
So, but what I'm asking is was the maximum capacity allowed last year different than this year? Were they able to make it?
The allowed amount, yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't fill even as many people as they had this year.
Right.
I forget how many they had last year, but it was less than 270.
Yeah, that was wild, that line.
Yeah, I
It
know.
was
I was
wild.
like, this is the spot line?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, compared to last year, I was like, no, this has to be like the restroom line or something.
Or all blended together because it's like kind of in the same area.
Yeah.
And they were prototyping a different tracker system too.
For a few people.
Yeah, for like 15 people or something.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah.
But, okay, so
that was like a weird start because we were all like, okay, it's 5 o'clock, but not everyone has their spot tracker.
Yeah.
Like, what are they gonna do? And then like Steve came on that, and then he's like, I think we'll start 15 minutes late. We gotta get everyone their spot trackers, and then they got them issued, and we started 10 minutes late. So, yeah.
And then it started.
Yeah, and then it started.
And then you were off to the races. And so back to the water thing. I want to linger on that a minute. Does water really freaks a lot of people out? Like getting your feet wet?
Yeah.
It like seems to, for me, I'm kind of programmed in like you want to keep your feet dry, it'll avoid blisters. What's your thoughts, feelings? How does it affect you going through water?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. I know some people have blistering issues from it. I just don't. So I don't know. I tested that though during training last year. I went out and ran the first 7 miles of the course. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to trudge through this, see how it feels. If I start to blister going up this hill, then maybe I'll consider taking my shoes off for race day. But I didn't, and I was fine. And then we tested it on like one other run last year, and I was like, all right, well, I'm fine. Like, it's just a little heavy for a little bit, but it's not bad. So I know some people are like, I think somebody this year had like full on, like up to the knee covers
to
keep
waterproof?
their feet dry so that when they put their shoes back on the other side, everything was dry.
Oh, so they didn't have to dry their feet off.
Yeah.
Wow, that's yeah. I mean, everybody's different there, right? But like, I think the pro tip here is as the great Brody says, as the great Bodie says, sorry, Bodie, check your shit. Sorry, Bodie.
Yeah, I mean, you have to test everything before you go into something like this. You can't just be like, I don't know, we'll see, and then like 5 miles into your race, you're blistering. Like, that's not a good thing either. So,
Right.
yeah. So test it.
Yeah. But that wasn't an issue at the beginning of this one this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I knew. So I also learned from last year that it bottlenecks really quickly. And so I knew not to be way in the back. Last year I was like, I don't know if I belong here. I don't know if I'm going to finish. I felt like an imposter. And so I was way in the back, and then it bottlenecked, and then you're just walking because you can't pass anyone because it goes to single track really quickly. And so I knew this year from doing the training run that it did the same thing. You kind of get a little road, you get a little double track uphill, but then it quickly goes to single track and it bottlenecks. And so this year I was trying to get further up and not get in the way of the elites, but get further closer to the start line so that I could not be subject to the walking line that happens towards the back. And that I think I did okay on. Like, there's just so many people that it did still bottleneck, but I wasn't like way in the back. So
yeah. So when everybody was lined up at the start and you had gone and lined up at the start, it started to kind of pack up there, you know, like just before the race, maybe 2 to 5 minutes before it kicked off. And I look over, and there's a camera crew, and there's this guy, big beard, like cut off shirt, and the best way I could describe him is like the best drywall guy you know. Right? And his bib number is 666.
Michael
Right?
Versteeg.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's Michael Versteeg, the best drywall guy you know. He looks like that, but
he does. He's such a different character to the sport.
yeah, he's definitely got a whole look.
Yeah.
He's got a theme to him, you know, and I think that's very attractive for, you know, I mean, he's only the guy who gets a custom bib number. I mean, I don't know, other people might get custom bib numbers, but he's particularly has chosen the sign of the beast as his bib number, right? But so did he like get VIP access to the front of the line?
No, I think just the elites like know they belong there. So
because he was, I mean, everybody was packed up, and he was like way over here, and then they walked up. So he must have just made it. I think they had like a velvet rope that they opened up for him, and they let him into the front.
Everybody knew this year that the men's field was stacked.
Yeah, and
everybody knew it was going to be a wild ride, and so it was Michael Versteeg, Michael McKnight, Jeff Browning. There were a lot of big names, and that was like really exciting. I was like, man, I kind of wish I was watching this, because like I want to see him throw down over the course of however many days, you know, 2.5 days.
Yeah, 60 hours.
And
55.
Yeah, and so I think everybody kind of was starstruck. I was definitely starstruck at the beginning, because I was like, oh my God, there he is. Like, holy crap.
Yeah, the guy has 3 cameras following him, like surrounding him.
Well, because everybody's doing media for these things. And I think you should, because it's such an adventure and you want to document it. And it's such an effort that a lot of people can gain a lot from all of the media that follows these things.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I think there were a couple other people like that too, but it was, I mean, they hit the media hard this year.
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally. Well, he's sponsored Satisfy, and that was the Satisfy crew with him, and probably his own hired people. Yeah, you know, not part of the race. Yeah. I mean, there was cameras everywhere. There was race cameras everywhere.
Yes,
people hired for the Cocodona live stream. And then there was all the individual media crews that were just like milling around everywhere.
Right.
It was wild how many cameras there were.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But.
Yeah.
Okay. So off to the races. You go up. Up.
Yeah.
How did it compare to last year?
Okay. So getting to the first water station, or at the first aid station, is just under 8 miles. And like, it's kind of like you settle into your pace and this idea that you're going on this adventure, and you get to that first aid station and you fill up with all the water. They have the mandatory 4 liter. Everyone takes more, except maybe a couple people. I took 5 liters. I wasn't feeling really good. I don't know what it was, but something was not settled in my stomach, and I just kind of didn't feel 100%. And so at that aid station, I filled up and I tried to like get some pickles because I thought like, okay, I think I need a little bit more electrolytes, but didn't help. And then you start to climb. That first 34 miles, I know everyone talks about it, but this year I went in with the idea that they're not infinite hills. Like, you will get to the top of them. They don't go on forever. And last year I was like, God, this is never ending. It just goes on forever and ever and ever. And this year I, at this point, had done it 3 times. I had done that section 3 times. I did it in the training run last year, the race, and then the training run again this year.
So you're an old pro at this. So.
Yeah. I was very familiar with it.
Yeah.
Like, so I knew, okay, at the top of this, like you get a little ridge, it's real flat, and then you get some downhill. And so just the mental aspect of reframing it as you will not climb forever. It does end. Mm-hmm. Like, it feels really hard, but it does end. I think that just helped me this year. That, and I feel like my climbing got significantly better this year. This last year training, I just was like very focused on being able to go uphill very quickly. Mm-hmm. And so I spent less time climbing because of that. So I also, all of the flats and downs last year, I was just still kind of power hiking. This year I was like, I can run those. I can move quicker on those. You know, I don't need to take it easy. And there's some really like steep down sections that I knew there was some cost analysis coming up, because like when you're going down those, it's your toes are just like banging the front of your shoe, and there's some damage happening on the feet when you're doing those steep downs. Mm-hmm. So this year I was just like, I'm just going to go for it and run them, and we'll see what happens. But after that water station at mile 11, I stopped at that water station. You get 1 liter that you can fill up, and then you've got like the climb. And I sat down at that aid station. I was like, I'm not feeling great. And I was like, I don't know what it is that I need, but something's not settling in my stomach. I need to just like take a second right here. And I did. And then, like a mile later, I don't even think it was a mile later, I had to stop on the side and just be like, all right, so something's not right with my stomach, but it's not getting worse. It's not getting better. So like, let's just keep moving. And so I saw somebody that I ran with last year, and she was like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I don't know. Something's just not settling. And she was like, do you need anything? I was like, no. And I just love that about the community, because they're, like, we're all carrying what we need for that section, but they're all just like willing to help if you need it. So I got going, and I was like, all right, it's not getting worse. So maybe it'll just pass and then I'll be okay. So like, I want to say like 4 or 5 miles later, it was starting to feel better. And I just like made sure I was taking in electrolytes and, fueling. Mm-hmm. So
now I want to back to that water station. I heard at some point some of that water got stolen.
So that was the one at mile 25.
Okay. So I'm ahead of it a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. So you have the aid station just before mile 8, and then you have, I think, water like mile 11 where you can take an extra liter, and then mile 25 you have where they mule it in, and you can only take a liter.
Right.
So there's a ton of climbing that happens until you get to that mile 25 water drop, and it was getting warm. And people were feeling it. Like, it wasn't as hot as it could be, and I was really thankful for that, but it still was warm. I mean, it's the desert, you're exposed, and, if you're overexerting at all, the desert's going to show you that. So there were a couple points where I was like, I need to, like, back off a little bit. Like, I was kind of trying to keep the same pace that I had for the training run, but that was not realistic, because the training run was like, there was, like, snow in Crown King the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very cool training run temperature. So I knew I needed to go a little slower. So then I got to the mile 25 water drop, and somebody was like, yeah, you can get a half liter. And I was like, no, you can get a liter. And they were like, no, somebody stole the water. I was like, what do you mean? Like, who does that? Like, what kind of jerk steals water?
It happened on the Arizona Trail to me.
So,
It happens. That's like another pro tip here
yeah.
is don't assume things are going to be there, even in an organized race.
Yeah. So I did have a water filter.
Yeah.
That I took, and I was debating. I was like, man, I need more than half a liter, but I really don't want to drink this pond water because it wasn't really running. It was pretty. There were lots of floaters, but I knew I needed more water than what I had on me, and so I got some. I filtered it. I drank some of that filtered water. Like I chugged a little bit right there. And I was like, God, I hope I don't regret this. I hope it gets all the bugs. Please don't let me get sick.
Fine.
I know, but Bryant had the issue last year, and he thinks it's because he had filtered water at that spot.
Yeah.
And he had a bunch of GI issues and had to drop. And that's all I could think of was like, oh, I really hope this is not the end of me. But I was like, I have to have water.
Yeah.
So I chugged some, and then I was like, all right, I'm just going to chug what I think I need. And then I'm going to fill up the rest of this bottle with something that I can filter, but I really hope I don't need to drink the rest of it. So I stuffed that in my bag, filled up the extra half liter, which the half liter that I got from there was like ice cold. It was so refreshing.
Yeah.
It was so nice. So then I got going, and I was kind of doing some mental math in my head, and I had decided, okay, I can have 250 milliliters every mile and a half, and that'll get me to about 2 miles before the aid station, and I can make 2 miles with no water. And I was starting to run out going up Lane Mountain, and I was like, I need to conserve because I still know that there's, you get to the saddle and you think you're done climbing at Lane Mountain, and you're not. You get like a little bit of flat, but then you've got more climbing. And I knew that was coming. So I knew I was going to run out of water and sooner than I wanted, but I knew I needed the water. And so a guy actually like stopped, and he's like, yeah, I have some extra. And so he gave me some, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. That was huge for me. That was like awesome. But yeah, so we got to the saddle, and I was kind of playing tag with a couple of people there. And then we did some more climbing, and this guy was like, God, where is the aid station? I was like, we just climb this little ridge, and then we get on the dirt road, and then it's like a mile to the aid station. And I like crested it, and I saw the dirt road, and I yelled back to the guy. I was like, it's here, we made it, we did it, because he was in a real low place. So I was trying to give him hope. And
that's like the quickest way to slow time down is be like, where is that aid station?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Like it immediately slows time down.
Totally.
The anticipation of wanting to get there.
Because you think like once you get to the top, it's there, but it's not.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to give him some encouragement, because he was like just shuffling his feet, and I was like, hang in there. So then I made it to the aid station. Well, I was playing tag with these people, and I got like this second wind, and because I knew like we're a mile from the aid station now that we're on the dirt road, and I passed those couple people, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go get Coca-Cola. And I was like so excited for Coca-Cola, and I got to the aid station, got some Coca-Cola, and then they rolled up and they were like, are you the one that was screaming Coca-Cola? I was like, yes. Hell yeah. And I drank like, I don't know, 5 cups of that. Like it was, So anyway,
so I almost think that a water filter should be a mandatory piece of equipment, because if you don't know, Cocodona, they require certain, they mandate spot trackers for everyone, and they have required gear checks at certain points.
Yes.
And it's almost like a water filter. Like, it's such a small thing.
Yes, but there's not always water.
I know, but I'm not saying to rely on it. I'm saying as like a backup safety
There's
measure.
enough people there that have water filters that will help you.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
With it.
Right.
Because you're not spread out enough at that point.
Right. It kind of self-regulates a little.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I think typically most years there's not water at that mile 25 crossing. And most years there's not water pouring out of the mountain like there was last year. You know, like that was crazy. Every little crest of, like every little switchback had streams last year.
Yeah. And those were not existing this year.
There were like a couple, like a handful, but they were much more stagnant. So yeah, I mean, I think the filterable water, you can find someone else to help you and give you some.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then after that, throughout the race, it's pretty accessible.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's really maybe the section between Cottonwood and Sedona is the only other really hot section where water is an issue. There's not any water there to filter though, ever.
Right.
So that would kind of be a mute point for that section. Yeah.
So anyway, I get to the Lane Mountain aid station. I regroup. I get a ton of Coke in me and refill. I think I refilled one water bottle because it's only a 4-mile thing downhill dirt road from there to Crown King. And really, like, I feel like Lane Mountain is just like a pit stop, and I need to, like, Crown King is the actual aid station that you need to like stop and regroup on, like not Lane Mountain. So I take off from there, go down, and I think one of the most beautiful views is from that Lane Mountain to Crown King section. You climb just a little bit, and then you're on this dirt road that just overlooks huge amounts of mountain ranges, and it just seems to go on forever and ever and ever. And the sun, you know, is not setting at the time that I get there, but it's getting lower, and it just sets like these beautiful shadows, and it's one of the most gorgeous parts of that course. But then you're like up in the pine trees, and it's not hot anymore, and you're like thankful for the shade, and it's nice. And and then I roll into Crown King, and I was feeling pretty good. So
and Crown King's like the big, they have food, they have hot food. It's like the big exchange for the first night. You're coming in, you were a few hours ahead of your time last year at that point. Because I think it was like dusk last year. So you were running pretty good there. You were, what I remember there, you were in good spirits. You were in better spirits this year than last year at that point. You weren't as wrecked. So and I think, you know, we went into aid station efficiency mode at that point, which is, for me, was get your bag off, get some hot food in you as quickly as possible, and if you were going to sleep at that aid station, if you planned on it, we'd get you to sleep, not at that one, but at any aid station forthcoming. Get the food in you first, get you to sleep, ask you a few questions at the beginning, like, what do you need me to refill with? Go over your spreadsheet, refill your water. So I could try and be as efficient as possible with you also on the aid stations.
And I will say, like, the spreadsheet is a guideline. And I think you knew that at the last year. I was like trying to like plan out every single thing, but it gets so variable by the end of the race that things go out the window. But this year I rolled up and you had a pulled pork sandwich ready for me, and I just like sat down, we got the shoes off, you took my pack and I just started eating. And
Right. That was what you requested, was get the food ready.
Yep.
Have the food ready.
Yep.
So, because last year was kind of a cluster. I mean, I was like, what do you want? I don't know what to do. How do I do this?
It's such a learning curve, though.
Yeah.
So
it was like, okay, her ETA is 5 minutes. I'm going to get the sandwiches, have all that stuff ready.
Yeah.
So that was pretty, and that aid station is it's difficult parking. They release you from Bumblebee. You park at Bumblebee and wait until you get your runner passes a certain point, and then there's a release hold. And this year you had to go in and get a parking permit.
I was wondering if that happened.
Yeah,
this year.
it was well, I won't reveal their super secret parking permit. Okay, okay. You'll just have to do the race to find out what the parking permit looks like. But needless to say, it got me in to the mainframe up there at Crown King. But it's like there's no parking up there. It's a cluster up there. Everybody's bottlenecking. The RVs are going. There's like RVs going up. Everybody doesn't know how to drive on dirt roads. Nobody's giving right away. It's like chaos. It's like stressful chaos driving to Crown King.
Yeah, I wonder if they could do a better job of communicating, like, here's who has the right of way, and
maybe a little bit of guidance on yielding.
Yeah.
On one lane bridges, and maybe just some like basic, because it seems like, and I'm generalizing here, but because some people were fine and did the right thing, but it seems like people don't know how to drive on one lane dirt roads that have cliffs on one side.
Yeah.
And there were also 2 people with flat tires.
I heard that an RV got stuck too.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I didn't hear that, but I passed on the way down after you left that aid station. There were people on these mountainous roads, 1-lane roads, with a flat tire in the middle of the road trying to change it. Like there's no other choice there. I mean, they were doing whatever they had to do, right? But I saw 2 people on the way down have flats. Yeah, and one of them was in a rental, and they were looking for an air compressor. And I'm not quite sure the full story on that. Like, don't they have a spare? But I don't think they did.
I mean, if you've never been up that dirt road, it's okay for a while, but then it gets pretty treacherous.
Yes.
So.
And it's narrow, and it's exposed on one side, and there's just,
And I don't know if it was graded for you, but when we did the training run, it was like in really bad shape.
It was super washboarded.
Yeah. And
it was a wild ride.
Yeah.
Up and down that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I got a bunch of Coke and pulled pork and all my night gear from Crown King. And this year, I think last year I was like not mentally prepared for an almost 17-mile stretch. I think like I was like, I got through the first 37. I'm good now. And that next like 7, I was just expecting there to be an aid station sooner last year, even though I knew, but I wasn't like, I hadn't seen that part of the course, so I didn't know what to expect, and it just felt like it went on forever.
Yeah.
And this year I got to see a lot of that, like, I have like a hair on my nose. I got to see a lot of that in the daylight, and it's a really pretty area.
This is from Crown King to Arostra?
Yeah.
Arostra.
Yeah, I can't say that one.
Yeah, and it's flowy and mostly road?
Mostly road.
So it's relatively fast moving?
Yeah. There's a little bit of climbing to get up out of Crown King, but then you get like this nice, pretty, I mean, it's runnable pretty much the whole way. I think the whole way. So I was mentally prepared for that long stretch, because that's, like 17 miles is a good stretch without aid. But I was properly fueled this year and like ready for it. Because last year I melted. I was not in good shape rolling.
Emotionally melted?
Yeah.
Not fit. Not
yeah.
heat.
I think just like the overall stress of that first day, the amount of exertion that you have for that first stretch is just so, you can't like measure it, but it's just a level of exertion that's not like any other part of the race. And so if you don't regroup from that, then it's like I melted at Arostra because it was just hard. It was a hard first day last year, but this year I was mentally prepared for it. So I rolled in and this guy ran out to me. He like came out away from the aid station and was like running in with me. And he's like, what do you need? We'll get it ready. Like, and I was like, this is awesome. And so I told him exactly what I needed because I had started to think about what I needed at that aid station to regroup and be able to get the next push. And so I rolled in. He's communicating to the rest of the aid station exactly what I need. They bring it to me. I get everything I need, regroup, and then I was on my way again. Versus last year, I was like, I don't know what I need. I'm just gonna sit here, and then I was like, I'm gonna try to sleep. I don't feel good. That's something, and I was like a mess last year. That aid station almost broke me last year because I just was like, I don't know what I'm in for. And this year, I just felt so much better. So that aid station was awesome. It was really great. But from there, I forget what the mileage is up to Camp Kippa.
I don't know. But yeah, Arastra to Camp Kempa, you're going to be covering the Yankee Doodle Trail.
Yeah, so that was like just under 10 miles. Again, a section that I mentally was not prepared for last year. It is
the Yankee Doodle Trail. Yeah. I've heard stories of this from Kurt Ruff Snyder.
So you leave Arastra and you're kind of on the dirt road still for a while, and then you veer off. And there's like this three-way split. And there's like roads that you could get up that are like beautiful roads up to Camp Kippa. Or there's this bushwhacky trail that you can go through. And last year, I don't know.
The road to the right? Yeah. That's what we took pinions on last year to Prescott.
Yeah.
Which that was a crazy hike a bike, but it was a road. And so, and people talked us out of Yankee Doodle Trail.
Because it's super bushwhacky. It's super, super rocky, loose. Like, it's not a runnable trail. And if you're not mentally prepared for it, and last year, like, I left Arastra Creek and I was not in a good place. And then mentally I was like not prepared for something like that. So this year, again, I knew what to expect. And I think there's parts of the course that I'm glad I knew what to expect this year, but I also knew like what I was in for. So I don't know if it's an advantage knowing what you're in for.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. And I want to linger on this for a minute. So there's also like, you're describing this in great detail. And there's tons of videos out there showing these places, right? And for a lot of people watching and listening, this is a good way to get some information on this. But it is different experiencing it for yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you can watch and listen to as much stuff as you can about all this stuff. But then when you're in it, it's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think just like being mentally prepared helps, but I don't know, the Yankee Doodle Trail is so nasty. It's such a nasty trail. And actually I had I had enough water. I ran into this guy and he was really struggling, like really bad. And I was like, are you all right? Do you need anything? He's like, I underestimated this section. Do you have any extra water? And I was like, I do actually. Like, I'll pay it back. Like, the guy helped me earlier. Now I can help someone else.
Right. That's cool.
And so I emptied my bladder. I gave him everything that was in my bladder because I still had my 2 flasks up front. He was like, no, this is so much more than I thought I would get. Thank you so much. But that section, don't take it lightly.
Even though it's nighttime.
So once you get out of the bushwhacky part, you're still not out of the woods. There's still a couple miles of just like nasty, rocky, still climbing. Like you climb up into Mount Union, Camp Kippa, and it's not, I thought that the road was sooner again this year, but I like checked the map after I thought I should be there. And I was like, all right, I still have 3/4 of a mile of this. So like mentally I was like, okay, 3/4 of a mile, you got it. And then you've got dirt road. So, I don't know, just try to get through that section because it's not fun. But once you get on the dirt road, it's fine. Like, you still have a little bit of climbing on the dirt road, and then you drop down into Camp Kippa. That aid station last year, I tried to sleep a little bit at. I sat on a chair and I like set a timer for 10 minutes, and I was like, I'm just going to try to get some shut eye for a little bit. And I didn't sleep. This year, I ran into someone. I can't remember. Maybe it was Allie. And they were like, yeah, I just got like a little bit of sleep, like 20 minutes, and I feel better. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should try to do that this year. And for some reason this year, they had like mattresses stacked like at the back of the room. And there were like, I don't know, 20 of them. And I was like, can I just pull one of these mattresses? Because I don't want to go over and get a cot and waste all that time. And so the guy was like, yeah. So I just like pulled it up on the stage and like set a timer for 20 minutes, and I was out. Like I at that point learned that you should lay on your back. And that was like the moment that I realized this is how you get sleep. You lay flat. And so I think I shuffled for like 5 minutes and then I fell asleep, which helped. And then the guy like brought me eggs and bacon and pancakes, and then off I went. So I think I had a lot of time savings at that one too.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like wallow in my sorrows.
Yeah.
like I did last year.
Yeah. Why did I sign up for this? What am I doing with my life?
I know. Okay, so that's 63-ish miles in.
Yeah. What time of night was this at Kippa?
That one, I feel like I rolled in pretty early. Let's see. So I rolled in at just before 5 a.m. and I left just after 5:15, 5:20. So last year I actually watched the sunrise leaving Camp Kippa. And this year I left and I didn't realize like how many little connections there are until you get to the dirt road. But I ran all of that in the dark this year. So it felt like, I don't know, I just felt like I was like way ahead of schedule because I was running in the dark, where last year I was running in the daylight. Yeah. And then that's like a nice dirt road for a long time. And then you turn off on like this beautiful single track Prescott trail system.
Right.
That's just like super flowy and fun. And it was just like this, I don't know. I just really enjoyed it this year. Last year, again, like I was like so over it. I was like, I just want to see my crew. I want to be at Whiskey Row and I don't want to be on this junk anymore. Like I'm over it. Like I just want like real sleep and somebody to scoop me up and take care of me. This year I was like, this is great. Like I was really enjoying that single track this year. And then at Camp W, Camp Wamatochik.
Yeah, Wamatochik.
Okay.
I think that's how you say it.
I was like, man, I think I need some sleep. Like I'm really like, just the stress of the first day again was just so much that I was like, I think I need to get some shut eye for a minute, because I'm not going to be as productive if I don't get some shut eye. They had burgers at like 5 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
Like, what time did
maybe that's all they had.
Oh wait. I got into Camp Kippa at like 1:40, not that late.
1:40 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then left at like 2:15, 2:30.
Okay.
Yeah, so then Camp Kippa I actually got in at like 4:30.
Okay.
And they had the live stream going. So I got some shut eye. I was like, I'm just going to lay down. I slept for 30 minutes and I was out. But when I was starting to wake back up, they turned on the live stream and Jeff Browning was already at the top of Mingus.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh my God.
Whoa.
like West Plate rolled in to that aid station as I was waking up, and we were all just watching the live stream like, oh my God. And I looked at West Plate and I was like, can you imagine being that fast?
Yeah. Beast.
We were all just like, no.
Mhm.
like we're out here giving it our all. And he's so much further than us, you
Mhm.
know? Like it's just incredible what those guys can do. So I left there as the sun was rising, and that I think was one of my favorite parts, because as the sun was rising, there were all these deer out, and I was just like rolling into Whiskey Row, passing like so many deer just right on the trail. And like you take a little dirt road for a little bit, and then you turn off on some single track, and like that dirt road had deer, and then the single track had deer, and then every switchback had deer, and then you run to like Goldwater Lake, and it's like this beautiful water spot in the middle of like pine trees. It's just really gorgeous. And then I ran into more deer, and that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was like last year. I think I just was so ready to see you guys that I couldn't appreciate that section. And this year I was just like, man, this is beautiful single track. The sun is rising. Look at all the wildlife. Like, oh, that section, I don't know what it was, but it sounded like a mama bear was protecting a cub, and was like, it was far enough away from me to like feel safe, but I was like, I have never heard this sound in my life. And it was like, somebody's upset, like some animal is not happy.
Can you replicate it?
No,
you can't replicate it for us.
No. It just, the way to describe it was like a mama bear was like protecting her cub, is what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And I like was trying to see if I could see anything, and this was like right after I passed Goldwater Lake, and I couldn't see anything. It was close enough that I thought I could see it. And then I was like, I better get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I gotta go. So I kept running. So that was kind of weird too, but kind of like cool, because it felt like, man, like town's not that far away, and there's like all this wildlife, you know? So, yeah, rolling into Whiskey Row again last year, I didn't realize there was as much road. This year I was prepared for that mentally. And I ran it all. Yeah, and I ran it all, you know, like I didn't feel like defeated. Like last year rolling into Whiskey Row, I felt defeated. This year I was like, yeah, I'm feeling good. It's a tough day, but I'm feeling pretty good, you know? So yeah. Then I see you.
Right.
And
Creedy.
Yeah.
This is where you pick up the first pacer.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, yeah, we went into the routine, you know, which is now stuff food in your face, get your shoes off, get your bag off, debrief on what you need, and then here you slept. Send you into the sleep area at Whiskey Row. And that was pretty straightforward there.
I think I asked for an hour of sleep. Okay. The medical tent was, you had to go through the sleep station, and then they had like a room where the meds were.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At Whiskey Row?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the medics didn't have anyone to treat, so they were just standing there talking. And I was like, this is the sleep station. I'm trying to sleep. Can you be quiet?
Yeah.
You know, so then I was like, can I close this door? I went over. I got up because I had laid down. And I was like trying to sleep through it. And I was like, I can't sleep through this. So I was like, can I close this door? And they were like, yeah. And then you couldn't hear them. But
yeah. Well, you know, I mean, okay. So
even with earplugs, I could hear them.
Yeah. I'm not going to. These are the medics, I think, are all probably hired. They're not volunteers.
No, they're not.
These are hired contractors for the race.
Yeah.
And I definitely had a worse time.
Later on,
we'll get to that. But in general, you know, that was one of the, I don't know, the medics just waiting around for someone, just kind of waiting around became kind of an issue later. But yeah, like, I don't know, did they have that last year?
I don't know where the medics were last year, but I don't feel like they were in that area.
I wonder what the reasoning was for that. There was probably a very good reason.
Yeah, no, and it's fine. Like that location is fine, but like there's also people who haven't slept for over 24 hours that are trying to lay down and get some sleep, and so like whispering or closing the door, like just simply closing the door worked.
Yeah. Maybe they didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, so I only slept for like 30 minutes and then I got up and I was like, all right, let's get stuff together and let's get going.
Yeah.
So
I want to take a really quick break.
Okay.
And come right back.
Okay.
And we're back. Okay, so we got you out of whiskey.
Well, no, I'm curious from the crewing perspective, because I don't think a lot of people talk about the crew logistics. So I want to hear your perspective at this point, having to pick up Creedy and like organizing that.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, the crewing is wild. So it's hard to compare. I first want to say it's hard to compare against running 250 miles. So it's hard to be like, oh, this is so difficult or tough or whatever. But the crew, depending on how many people you have, and I saw a lot of different variety of types of crew over this thing. And for this one, it was just me until later in the race when my parents came up and kind of help out. But crewing by yourself is significantly difficult. You are getting a lot. You are also being sleep deprived, maybe not to the extent of yours, but you're basically like just driving around and hauling and sherping stuff back and forth and not sleeping a whole lot. And also, since I was by myself, there wasn't like anyone to check on me while I was sleeping, or check on the tracker while I was sleeping to make sure that I was going to be there for when you arrived at these aid stations. So I wasn't getting very fulfilling sleep either, because I was like waking up every few hours and checking it to make sure, because I was like so worried that you were going to roll in and I wasn't going to be there, right? Because this is like my one responsibility is to be there. So, like, for example, that morning, the first couple days, it's spread out enough that, and the crews can't get there, that it's really quite manageable. Like, I just kind of wait around and did a little work here and there, and it wasn't really that big of a deal. But as the race goes on and the aid stations get closer and closer together, you get a lot less sleep if you show up to every aid station. So it's a lot of driving, and I guess I don't drive that much in general. So it's like it's a lot of a new thing. So like that morning at Whiskey Row, I had gotten up at, I don't know, 4 a.m. or something and gone, and Creedy had decided to park his car at Mingus. And so I drove up to Mingus and picked him up.
Because that's where he would stop pacing.
Yeah, that's where the end of his pacing bit would be, and he'd have his truck there. So I picked him up that morning and drove back to Whiskey Row, and then we hung out at the B&B for a little bit, and then welcomed you in at Whiskey Row. And then that kind of kicks off like the chaos for me moving forward, and the logistical, just like moving people around and moving pacers around. And I think that we have our truck, and it has a sleep kit in the back. I also had Roxy, our dog. And so there was like moving that dog around, logistics. And I think if I could have my pie in the sky crewing scenario, it would be one of those rented Sprinter van type things. Yeah. That seems to be the right tool for this specific job. Like, I saw people with RVs, and although the RVs are nice because you have all these other luxuries, they're really difficult to get into places like Crown King. Yeah. You just can't. I mean, I saw people trying to park RVs up there, and I was like, that looks like it sucks. Yeah. Right. So the Sprinter van seems to be like the ideal thing, because you can have a place to hang out inside where you have the AC running. Yeah. Right. Because in some spots it gets really hot. Yes. And you're just kind of waiting around. Yeah. And so it's really nice to have an indoor place that you can kind of chill out. And then also it doubles as a place if your runner wants to sleep in there. It's a
Yeah.
really good quiet spot to sleep in.
Yeah, I can see
Right.
that.
And it's warm when it's cold, and it's cool when it's warm outside.
Yeah.
So I think that like that would be that, plus having at least one other person to rotate with.
Yeah.
So that you could kind of share the duties of the sleep thing. So you could be fresh and be making really good decisions for your runner as well.
Yeah.
Because towards the end of it, I was not really making very good decisions for you.
Yeah.
Because I was also kind of like sleep deprived, and my judgment was off a little bit, right?
Mhm.
And I kind of was like starting to check out and go into autopilot by the end of it also.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, so I don't know. That's what I learned this year. If we ever do it again, if I'm ever asked to be crew, that's going to be what I'm going to think is probably the most ideal scenario for both the crew and the runners, you know?
Yeah.
Cause I think it's important to also take care and recognize the crew a little bit on these
Mhm.
things. Cause they do, you know, it's a, and I'm not like, just like patting myself on the back or we're self-serving or whatever. This is the things I've learned about
No,
crewing over the
it's
last couple of years.
It's a job for
Yeah.
sure.
It's a job, and it's just a lot of logistics. It's just a lot of like driving and not sleeping for like 5 days, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
for
meeting
sure.
new people and just like making sure. For me, I guess I could take it a little more casually. I could have been like, it'll work out. And kind of by the end, I kind of was in that mode.
Yeah.
But like at the beginning, I
Yeah.
was like, we have to make sure that this stuff is like perfect and dialed in, because this is my job to make sure that you're successful.
Yeah.
And if you quit, this is partially because of me, potentially, and my lack of doing my responsibilities.
Yeah.
That's how I felt
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
Not at the
At the
end.
beginning.
To be honest. At the end, I was like, whatever. She's going to figure this out. Like, whatever. I'm going to go sleep for an hour in the truck. I'm so done with this.
Well, okay. So, so last year I had my best friend Janae at Whiskey Row, and this year she couldn't make it out. So I had some pacers that I didn't really know fill in, and so we had met like a little bit before the race, and like I also, that's just really commendable to like jump into something like that I don't know, these people hadn't run that far ever, you know, and they were signing up for it, but like their friends knew that they had the fitness to do it, and they don't know this person, you know, like, so it's commendable that they like signed up for it
For
too.
sure. Yeah. And we should definitely shout out all the pacers,
Yeah.
because they were awesome. They were all so nervous about making sure that they were going to do the best that they could do for you.
Yeah.
All of them.
Oh, I know. And they were all fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, like stellar.
Yeah. So let's Creedy.
So Creedy took me from Whiskey Row to the top of Mingus.
What's his last name?
Smith.
Creedy Smith.
And then Shelby picked me up at Dead Horse.
Okay.
And she took me into Sedona. Shelby Reed, shout out. She was awesome because she's also a retired PT and was like helping me with some issues. And then from Sedona to Munns, I had Gigi. She got me through one of the lowest points. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, she's a pickup from last year.
Yes.
She was the only returning
I guess so.
pacer from last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Allison took me from Munns to Fort Tuthill.
Mm-hmm.
Stellar again, all of them. And then Jen from Fort Tuthill to the finish. So, I mean, it's a daunting task to even be considering pacing someone, because again, like, you don't want to mess it up. And like, Creedy had never run that far before. Shelby had never run that far before, and they stepped up and like did it, you know?
Yeah. So thank you.
And I think Jen too even hadn't run that far, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's an adventure for everyone, but it's like so cool. It's just so cool. And I don't know how I'm going to be in the moment and like what they're going to need to like help me. So, and especially later as the race goes on, it's like hard to communicate what I need and how I'm feeling and that sort of thing. So all of them were awesome. So
Yeah, and I did try to prep them a little bit with that information, was like, because they're like, what do you think she'll need here and there? What's the best thing I could do when she's feeling down? And I'm like, just ask her.
yeah,
Like you have a responsibility to let us know.
yeah,
You know, you're
Yeah.
not unable to speak. Like you have a responsibility
Yeah.
to let us know like what you need to be successful.
yeah,
Right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so Whiskey Row, pick up Creedy. It's getting warm. The sun's out. Yeah, I'm curious what time we left, because
Yeah.
it really did start to get toasty.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, so we left. Okay, so I got in at 8:00, left just after 9.
Mm-hmm.
And the sun was starting to get warm.
That was whiskey?
Mhm.
That was efficient.
I
Stop.
know.
With a sleep.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
Seemed longer than that.
I know.
Yeah.
We were nailing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I ate like a whole pizza.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
There's nothing better.
Yeah. So the next stage is Whiskey Row to Iron King, which goes through what's called the Dells in Prescott.
The Granite Dells
Granite Dells.
around Watson Lake, which is just stunning. That's
these are natural granite structures, rocks, big formations.
So that's about a 13-mile section.
Okay. Just a half marathon.
Yeah, just no aid. So
what was it like picking up another person now?
Oh my gosh, it's such a relief. Like mentally, because you've been alone for 24 hours, like running this thing solo, basically. And yeah, you talk to people, but like you're just kind of passing, and but that section particularly, the Granite Dells can get really confusing, and you don't know which dots you're supposed to follow, or like even just finding the next dot. Because
by dots, what do you mean?
There's no trail, right? You're up on these like these giant boulders, and like there's painted white dots for where you're supposed to go for the trail.
I see.
And they try to flag
like
it.
A breadcrumb.
Yeah.
Almost.
They try to flag it. Well, that was a B. But again, like it's just giant rock formations. So how do you flag something that you can't stick in the ground?
Mm-hmm.
So Creedy had actually scouted that, and he was like, this is tough. And so he had his phone out the whole time to make sure we were going the right way. And like the first place guy the day before or whatever had gotten turned around and was going the wrong way on the Dells. So like it can get really confusing. I heard a couple of people like get turned around and we're going the wrong way. So he was like on it. He was like, this way, this is the best way. Like, and then there were like some like deep, like steep pitches, and he's like, yeah, you don't want to go this way, let's go around this way so it doesn't kill your legs. And so he was like thinking about all of that as we're going through this. And it was just awesome. So I mean, the views there are just worth like going a little slower and just enjoying that section. So,
I wonder how much time is lost with individuals pulling their phone out and navigating.
Yeah.
There's got to be a better way to do that. And it seems like if there's almost, I mean, you could have a pacer that if you're ideally you have a pacer who just knows the way and takes you through, right? But a lot of people don't have access to be able to go down and pre-run the course, right? They're flying in or whatever. And so like I've always wondered, is there, I know that they have nav on watches now.
Yes.
There's got to be some kind of, and for bikepacking, it's, you have your computer that has your nav and you follow this line and it gives you like off course notices and stuff, and it seems like that there would be this way of, on the watch or some sort of like fixed heads up display sort of navigation that you could have to make sure you don't get lost in these situations.
Yeah. People do have that on their watch. But it eats up the battery, which is why I didn't choose to have it on my watch. And I think what happened with like String Bean is he was on course. He was just going the wrong way, so he wasn't like being alerted, like somehow he did like a loop and like ended up going the wrong way.
Right.
And I think he even had a pacer. So,
Yeah, and so on the battery life thing, that's an interesting problem on your wrist, because in bikepacking or endurance riding, you can bring a power block and recharge your computer while you're riding. So that problem is solved, but you can't do the same thing with your watch.
right.
You kind of have to, you can't recharge and move at the same time.
You can, it just wouldn't be on you, right? Like you'd have it plugged in and like
Right,
in
there's
your
no way
pack
to run like a
or
wire to your
something.
watch.
I don't know.
Right?
I never wanted to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I just didn't.
Right. It just seems like it could be advantageous to have more solid nav when it comes to that.
Yeah,
Just
for
a thought.
sure.
But
Um,
or you could just have a pacer that has their phone out and is good to go.
he nailed it.
That seems like the easiest
nailed
way.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get through the dells and it's starting to get really warm. And I was like, I think I'm overheating. I think I need a minute. We like stopped a couple of times I was trying to regroup and I was like, I think I just need to move slower. Like, I think I need to not push in this section and just move a little slower and just get through it. And as much as that section is runnable, I was overheating. And so I just knew it was not advantageous to try to move quickly. So that feels like a really long section because like I wanted to run it, but I just knew I couldn't. So we finally roll into Iron King. You're there. They had a mashed potato and sloppy Joe. Oh my God, it was so good.
2 plates you had.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good.
And some ice on the neck.
Yeah. We got in the shade, got some ice. It's kind of an unremarkable section from Iron King to like the start of the climb for Mingus.
Yeah. Right, to Fane. Iron King to Fane's the next bit.
Yeah.
It's a field.
Yeah.
It's not much of a trail.
Yeah, pretty much no trail. No trail.
The cows eat the flags.
Cows eat the flags. We passed a cow that was like looking like he was gonna come say hi.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Was he like chomping on a flag?
No, but
the
okay.
wire sticking out?
I did have a theory for this.
Okay.
I forgot about this until this moment. So there were these like reddish, orangish flowers in the field.
Oh.
I think that they think that the flags are the flowers. Yeah.
Good theory.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my theory.
And until they get to the wire part.
And then they're like, what?
Like, that doesn't seem right.
But they are friendly cows. Like, I wasn't afraid that they were gonna like charge us or anything. They like just were very like, hi.
Yeah, cows generally are pretty friendly.
Anyway,
pro tip:
we actually did this section in the daylight, which was a relief because last year when I did it with Janae, we left Iron King as the sun was setting, and it was a nightmare to try to navigate. This was such a huge difference to be able to see where the next flag was without like shining your light and making sure like the flag was flapping so that you could see the reflective piece. Like, it was so much easier. If you can get to that section in the daylight, do it in the daylight. Like, do what you can to do it in the daylight. Janae and I wasted so much time just trying to navigate that section because it's so hard to know where you're supposed to go.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, it's pretty unremarkable other than you just go in that direction.
Yeah. And then Fane Ranch, it's a pretty substantial aid station. Again, kind of a prep station for you for the night.
Yeah.
The next bits, which go into the night.
Yeah. That one had the mandatory gear check for, because you climb and get on top and you're in pine trees again. So you need all the cold gear.
You're up to 8,500 feet or something at Mingus.
Yeah.
Or 8.
And so I think I closed my eyes for like 20 minutes there. And pretty much fell asleep right away. And then we took off and you just kind of follow this fence line for what feels like forever through the field. Like, again, no trail. And it's like this slight uphill. And again, it was warm, so I didn't want to overdo it. So we were just like power hiking it, and it just feels like it goes on forever. And then it veers off, and then you're in bushwhack again, and you're like trying to figure out. And Crudy was awesome because he was like, all right, we go this way, and then like found like a little gap in the bushes for us to go through, and like there's not like a nice way around that, but it's like the only way to like connect to the dirt road to get you to the climb for Mingus.
He was so prepared. I'm surprised he didn't like pull out his what do they call it? Machete, yeah, and start like. I mean, he was prepared.
Yeah, he was.
You gotta give it. He was like dialed in.
Yeah, he was. He
awesome.
I had warned him that those sections sucked, like as far as like being boring. You're just going through a field. It's not fun, and then you get to the section that makes absolutely no sense. I'd warned him. So he was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think we got to the dirt road, and I was like, I think I need some calories. So we sat, and I was like trying to regroup because again, I was overheating.
Mm-hmm.
And I ate. We kind of slow jogged the road a little bit, but I don't know. I didn't want to overheat, and I don't remember the Mingus climb from last year because we hit it at night. And I mean, I remember it, but like we started the climb up Mingus, Creedy and I, and still daylight, and I don't remember it being so hard, but it's a tough climb.
Mm-hmm.
It's really technical. It's longer than I thought it was from last year. For some reason in my head last year, I was like, oh, it's just like a couple of switchbacks and then you're at the top. And yeah, it's straight up, but it's okay because it's just like, I don't know, whatever, 7 switchbacks and then you're done. No.
Were you having breathing? There were a lot of breathing problems. So a lot of people were coming into Mingus with breathing issues. Had these started yet for you?
I was very dry. Yeah. Everything was so dry. Just from I think from A, it's the desert. B, the stretch from Crown King to Rastra is just dirt road, and there were ATVs. And so you're just like inhaling all this dust and
side by sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
now,
so
was that now, but it seemed remarkably different than last year.
I felt the same. I think like it's just like this overwhelming dryness that you cannot drink enough fluids. You can't get anything to like make it rehydrate. And I think some other people had some serious issues this year where they hadn't the year prior.
Yeah, West Plate was like...
Yeah.
Like coughing and phlegming up at Mingus.
And
like trying to get everything out and was actively complaining about how dry it was.
And I know a few other people that I passed that... or past me that were having the same issue.
Yeah. And he had tried a face cover, even like a nose and a face cover,
to try to like keep it
to keep the debris
moisture.
Out. Yeah. So there's got to be something. There's got to be a piece of gear that you can use that would mitigate that a little bit.
I don't know.
To keep the moisture in.
I think the combination of breathing that heavily for that long in the desert while inhaling all this dust is, I don't know that you can mitigate it completely and like not have the issues. So I was like extremely, extremely dry at the top of Mingus. Like everything just felt like so raw. And yeah, so anyway, so we finally get to the top of that climb that I was not expecting to be as hard as it was. And Creedy was awesome. He was pushing me. He was pushing the pace for me. He was up ahead of me, and he was like making sure that I was moving at a clip that was pushing and sustainable. And, you know, it was good. It was great. So we actually finished the climb and just barely needed to put our headlamps on before we rolled into Mingus, because there's like some road to get to Mingus before. I don't know, it must be like 2 miles. I was so happy to be there because I knew I was going to get some sleep. I was like, yes, I'm going to get a cot. I'm going to get some sleep. And I was so excited.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Leading up to the Mingus, you arriving at Mingus, I was just hanging out in the truck watching some fellers get their F-150 stuck in the mud.
oh no.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you about that.
No.
Yeah, they got it. There was a kind of a coned off spot in the parking lot, and these guys that had nice truck with a big tent system on the back, they went into the no-go zone apparently. And I think the cones were there for a reason. I was parked right at the edge of the cones, and I could feel when I was backing the truck in, I could feel the ground getting a little soft.
Oh.
But it was weird because it hadn't rained in days.
Yeah.
It's like, where's all this moisture coming
Yeah.
from? But you could feel the ground getting a little bit soft, and there's definitely like,
I wonder if it was snow melt.
it could have been. Yeah, because they went off into the section that looked fine, and they went to make a turn, and they just got their truck, deeply stuck in the mud, the back of
Oh,
it.
shoot.
Yeah, and I think originally, they got stuck because they didn't have enough weight in the back of the truck.
Oh, yeah.
And then they just dug themselves in deeper. And it was a 4-wheel drive truck, but something wasn't really, it's like their 4-wheel drive wasn't engaging.
Huh.
So, yeah, so they had to, I watched them for like 2 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I didn't have a tow strap. I would have offered to pull them out.
Right.
But I didn't have a tow strap, and
Right.
they were walking around the parking lot asking people if they had tow straps.
Yeah.
So, I would have definitely helped them, not just spectate if I had the right tools for it. But I didn't. And I didn't want to, give a bad look on a Toyota pulling a F-150 out. I didn't want to go there with these fellers. But eventually, they found somebody to pull them out who had a tow strap. But so that was kind of fun. I didn't sleep because I was watching that from the inside of the back of the truck.
Well, and I didn't roll in that late to
Right.
Mingus.
It was just about dusk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we had just put our headlamps on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Mingus, nice big camp, the indoor facility, we could recharge stuff,
Mm-hmm.
recharge your lights, which you didn't need much at that point. There was a nice sleep area. You took a sleep on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was awesome too. Because again, I just fell right asleep. I was out.
Mm-hmm.
That I slept for an hour, and then you came and woke me up. And I had some lasagna there. That was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I was lasagna does not sound good.
Yeah,
And
they had nice big salads and
yeah,
lasagna.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Mm-hmm. But you slept more there. I think last year you slept 2 to 3 hours, maybe.
Yeah, it was definitely more.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't sleep. I was just laying there.
Right,
So I was resting, but I was not sleeping.
Right.
So just much more productive this year for
Mm-hmm.
sure. And as I was getting ready to leave, we saw West Plate, and then Allie, who ran it last year, that we know, and and then that next section I didn't have a pacer.
Right. Next section is Mingus to Jerome.
Yes. Which is notoriously rocky.
Mm-hmm.
Down. But I wanted to run that section because last year I ran it with my pacer Jason,
Mm-hmm.
who passed away, and I wanted to run it to remember him. And prior to the race, his mom had gone up and painted some pine cones to set at that overlook because it was such a special sunrise that we had last year. And I'm not just saying this, it was the most spectacular sunrise I've ever seen from the hang glider launch pad at the top of Mingus. It was just stunning.
Yeah.
And so in his honor, I painted a pine cone and set it on the hang glider launch pad.
Yeah.
And then that was a moment. And then I got going again, but there were some videos of people who had gotten there after me, and the pine cone was there, and it was that's cool.
Yeah.
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 R.I.P. Jason.
Yeah, for sure. So I knew Mingus going down was going to be rocky, terrible, and just like really steep on the side of this cliff. And as I was going down, I was like, man, this is tough. Like, this is really tough. And my feet were just getting destroyed. And I decided to have a funeral for my feet. So
Okay.
I literally was like, we're gathered here today to say goodbye to my feet.
Just you and you?
Yeah. And I promise you, I'll take care of you after we're done with this. But for now, we have to say goodbye. And after I did that, I was like totally at peace with my feet feeling terrible. Like, I don't know, it just like lifted the like focus, and I didn't think about how awful it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, that section is brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like kind of playing tag with West Plate at that point, and he was with another guy. And there's this section where you cross the highway and then you kind of go up a little bit and then you get like downhill into Jerome. It was so windy. And I thought I was going to freeze. Like, I was like, man, once I get up on this ridge, like I'm going to be cold. But it was like a warm breeze, wind. And I actually remember that section distinctly being so rocky and terrible that last year I remember kicking a rock. I remember the part where I kicked a rock and I could feel my toenail dislodge from the nail bed. It was terrible last year. And this year, because I said my funeral, I was totally at peace with things. And so I was just like, all right, we're going to run this and it's going to be terrible and it's going to be so rocky. And
yeah,
but I was like, I don't care. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm totally okay. So
you brought your Ziplocs though, right? To put your toenails in so that we could sell them? No?
No.
You forgot?
No. It's gross.
Come on, that could help pay off our loan on our house.
No, it's so gross. But anyway.
Quick break.
Yeah.
Got to fix the tent.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
And we're back. We got the tent all buttoned up.
Yeah. Not going to knock over the camera.
Not going to knock over the camera. All right. So now we're headed into Dead Horse.
No. So I haven't gotten to Jerome yet. So
Jerome.
You get out of that crazy rocky section and then you get onto this really beautiful dirt road. It's gorgeous after being on that terrible rocky section. And I wanted to run it so bad, but I was starting to fall apart. And it just felt like it went on forever. And I was like, God, I just want to be at Jerome and get some more sleep. Like, I was just so tired. And finally, like, you start to make the turn into town and it's like you hit pavement and like all feels good again. And you're like, I don't know, just rolling right into Jerome because it's all downhill. Yeah, I was so happy you were there because you had thought about skipping that one.
Yeah, I was starting to kind of get backed up on sleeping.
Yeah.
Or lack of sleeping.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, it was a 2 a.m. one.
Yeah.
So
right. It was like really not, I mean, like 4 maybe.
Yeah. So I got there and drove around in a circle. It's a very small area you can park in the town of Jerome. It's the race organizers are lucky that they are even able to send it through Jerome.
Yes.
Because the residents are mixed, I would say, at best, on allowing things like that to go through there for some reason. However, they are able to get through there. And yeah, I rolled in, very small parking lot, and the aid station had music playing all night, which was like, annoying, but I understand that they're doing it to kind of keep themselves going and keep like the mood up for all the runners coming through there and stuff.
Yeah.
If in hindsight, I probably would have, this is probably a good tip for anyone who's crewing in the future. There's a little parking lot just before you kind of enter the main parking lot. and there's a little dirt area there. And I had parked there at the beginning because
Mhm.
there was no parking up high.
Mhm.
And then I was setting up the sleep kit, and then I saw somebody drive out. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go up there and park and sleep up there because it's closer for you in case you want to get in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Right. And it was louder, and I didn't sleep at all because it was like
Yeah.
the bass was like going through my things, which just is like aggravating. But I should get some of your pro level earplugs next time. But
Yeah.
but in hindsight, I don't know if I would have done anything differently, because if I would have parked lower, yeah, you do run right by that. But for like the crew, for the crew, it's always like a matter of how you want the access to all the stuff at the aid station, but
Yeah.
you also need the access to the truck for sleeping potentially. And so I don't want to park like 2 miles away or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this conundrum that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I want to get as close as possible.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I was thankful you were there, because that stretch from Mingus to Jerome is like 17 miles. Again, a big stretch.
Mhm.
And it just like it's a tough section, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I rolled in. I got to the aid station and I was like, all right, I need to sleep. And I was like, I just want 30 minutes though. Like, I don't want too long. And so I crawled in the back of the truck, got some sleep. When you woke me up, I was like, man, that felt really, really good. I don't want to get up. But I did. I did want to get up and get moving before it was getting hot again, you know. And so that was kind of, well, that sunrise was incredible. That was really, really gorgeous.
Yeah.
Sitting on that like peninsula of Jerome and just like watching the sunrise over the mountains, like in the distance. It was really, really pretty. So leaving Jerome, you go down like this super steep hill that's just like covered in glass shards. And like you get to this gate that gets you to that point. And I closed the gate and I was like running a little bit, and then I heard something and I turned around and there were like 5 javelina that had like run on the other side of the gate. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. And like the sun was rising and I was like, man, I feel good again. You know, this is cool. Like, yeah, you know, kind of makes you appreciate being out there, you know? Anyway, that like super steep part, I remember being awful last year. It was way less long as I remember this year. So I felt like I got through that really quickly. And then you get on like this dirt road that then like pops you onto this single track, and then like this really nice trail into Clarkdale. And from Clarkdale, like you're running along the Verde, and it's just really, really gorgeous. And it wasn't too warm at that point. And you do end up crossing the Verde at that point, and that I was surprised how much that was flowing, but it was going pretty good. So again, I didn't take my shoes off and I just went right through it.
Yeah.
But then you get into like the Toozy section, and it's really like this really cool little area because it's, I mean, everything's so green because you're right next to the river, and all the bark is like really dark, so it kind of feels like this like weird green with like black bark, and you're like running through like this orchard that like feels like, I don't know, kind of ominous but kind of cool. And I really like that section. And then you pop out and are at Dead Horse. But I really like that section where you like are just on that single track out of Clarkdale and then running along the river. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
And then Dead Horse.
And Dead Horse is
where I picked up Shelby.
Right.
And I couldn't get enough moisture in my mouth and nose.
Right.
So that's the.
This is where the infamous picture is that I'm going to put at the intro bio of this pod.
Great.
So this is connected to that story.
So I took some paper towels, got them wet, and stuffed them up my nose because it just felt so good.
And then
needed moisture.
proceeded to sleep, cover yourself with a sleeping bag, and lay in the camp chair and sleep that way.
I forgot that I left it like that.
Yeah, you were
I
just
was oh my God, it was so nice.
Yeah, you slept and then you just looked, I don't know, the look on your face in that picture is hilarious. Like if I had to paint a picture of a low point, that would be it. I know it probably wasn't, but like that's
it wasn't. I felt good.
The low point. Yeah.
I felt good. I just wanted moisture in my breathing tubes.
Yeah,
because it was just so dry.
We didn't mention this earlier, but pro tip: saline solution. Bring saline solution or something to rehydrate
nasal spray.
Nasal spray. Yeah, saline nasal spray or something like this. A neti pot maybe to like.
Oh my gosh.
Get some rehydrating water up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't. What I would have
put that in the kit.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
In the crew kit or the drop bag. So yeah, it was again a quick turnaround there. We didn't really linger at any aid stations. You didn't linger. Quick turnaround there. You got a little bit of sleep, food, and we sent you off on your way with Shelby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think from there, the rest of the course, like I just knew like the back of my hand. And that was like for better or for worse, I guess. So I knew what to expect on that section. But it was getting warm again. So I again started to overheat in this section, and I was like trying to push because I knew I could run. Like my legs felt good enough to run, but I was just overheating. And so at one point I just was like, all right, Shelby, I think I just need to like not push. And I don't know why I was still trying to push, but I was. And I just like I needed a second at one point to just be like, all right, I need to cool down and then not go as fast as I want to go. And I was just like I was really in a low point. I just like was frustrated that I was overheating when I was trying to run, and I don't know, I just wasn't feeling great. And Shelby was trying everything to get me out of it, and I was just like, I don't know what I need. I just need some like ice on my neck or something, and to like get in the shade and just like stay in the shade and get cooled down. And I don't know how far out we were from the aid station, maybe like 3 miles. Cam, who was a PT at the place that I go to PT a couple of years ago, he passed me, and I was like, what? I shouldn't be ahead of him. Like, he's so much faster. Like, how have I been ahead of him for this long? Like, that's not right. Like, I did something wrong. like, no, I should not have ever been ahead of him is what I was thinking. And I mean, at this point, like, we're, I don't know, 130 plus miles in.
More than half.
Yeah. I mean, like, I was like, I should not be ahead of him.
Yeah.
Further than that, even, I think. Anyway, and that like picked me up emotionally. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing so much better than I thought I was, like I was like, I turned to Shelby and I was like, Shelby, I shouldn't even be in the same arena as Cam. Do you understand? Like, this is crazy. Like, I shouldn't be having a conversation with him 140 miles in. Like, he should have passed me at mile 1. So that really picked me up and got me to Deer Pass. And I rolled in there and I was like, I need ice. I need food. I need to cool down. Like, that was the main goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So strategies for managing the heat when you're not in an aid station.
Yeah. I think just don't try to push it. I wanted to because my legs felt good. My legs felt like I could run it, and I knew that section well enough that I knew I could run it. And so I think just managing your output so that you're not overheating.
Would you rather have 90 degrees or 30 degrees?
30.
You would rather have the cold, even though you
Mhm.
like hate the cold.
Mm-hmm.
Normally.
I can move in the cold.
Yeah. You can layer in the cold.
Yeah.
You can, I guess the question would be 30 degrees with the wrong gear or 30 degrees with the right gear,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right? Because I've been in both. Right?
Yeah. But if you don't have the right gear in 30 degrees, I feel like you're more motivated to even move faster.
Yeah.
Because you got to keep your body temperature up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I've learned a lot about the heat too. Last few couple races, Pinions and Pines, coming out of Fossil Creek was it roasted a lot of people. Arizona Trail last year roasted a lot of people. And one thing I've found is, be a natural radiator. Bring extra water specifically for the purpose of cooling yourself off.
Yeah.
So, and I wear a sun hoodie.
Yeah.
And if I can keep that thing relatively wet every, I don't know, hour.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll bring an extra flask specifically just to like shoot into the holes in my helmet. And then it kind of trickles down and then get kind of my neck wet and all that and just kind of stay like a radiator, like a vehicle's radiator.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I did like douse myself with water, but it's still like, I think my brain is just like, you feel good enough to run if it weren't for the heat, and that's just patience. You got to just get through the heat of the day because everybody's going through it, So
also the food, your appetite changes for most people.
Yeah.
So, and that's hard to get through, learning what does sit well when it's hot and what doesn't.
Yeah, for sure. And that like the liquid nutrition up until that point had been working pretty well for me, and it did a lot longer than I thought it would this race. Like mostly that goes away after the first couple days, but it was like still working for me. So I don't know.
Whatever works. I mean, that's really the pro tip number 6 or whatever number we're on is eat whatever tastes good.
Yeah. So I got into Deer Pass and it was hot, very hot. But I want to point out that I was shivering.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute. Yeah, you started to really, I guess that was really where it started the worst, was you would shiver even though you weren't cold.
I think that was basically where it started, where my temperature regulation was so messed up that I rolled into that aid station totally overheating and was shivering, just sitting there trying to sleep.
And asking for a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, whatever.
Okay. But I'm not the only one that has the temperature regulation problem, but I definitely think I have a more extreme response.
Right. Yeah, and it's a really bad, it like looks really bad.
Yeah.
From an outsider's
But I was
point of
sitting
view.
there and I was like, Shelby, I don't know what it is. She's medical background. I was like, I mean, it's got to be like neurological, because nothing about this temperature outside right now should make me shiver right now. Like, so it's got to be something in my brain saying like, you still need to cool down. You need to cool down. You need to cool down. You need to cool down. And I'm not needing it. I don't know.
I don't know either.
So anyway, so that's where the shivering started.
Yep. Deer Pass,
we left. It was still warm.
Right.
But we had gotten a bunch of ice and
iced you up.
Yeah.
Put your ice in the buff.
Started on Lime Kiln to Sedona. And that's a pretty big stretch too. But they have a water station at the high school.
Right.
And I think, let's see. Yeah, so leaving there, I was just much more conscious of not overdoing it so I wouldn't overheat. So I didn't stop, but the pace was just slower. And we backed off on the pace so that I wasn't overheating. And then you climb Schuerman Mountain. And that was really cool because you come up over the hill and just get like this awesome view of the Red Rocks, which I had run that portion at night last year with Lisa. So it was really cool to like hit these spots at different times of the day. But I was just so much faster this year that I got to see
everything in the switch 12 hours difference or 10 hours difference. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's like a whole different course.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so heading into Sedona, switch over of pacers. We switch from Shelby to Gigi.
Yeah, so rolling into Sedona, I was feeling pretty good after the sun started to die down and not be like so blazing. So we actually, Shelby and I ran the last, I don't know, 4 miles. I mean, I ran the whole like portion going into Sedona. Like once that heat factor was gone, I was so much better.
Definitely.
And so then I rolled into Sedona and I was like, yeah, I feel good, but I know I need to sleep before this next section. So I was like, I want an hour. And they have like the really nice cots set up there. And you were like, I'm going to go drop Shelby off.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, because I had about an hour to trying to optimize, you know, here. And if you're going to go to sleep for an hour.
Yeah.
So I like unloaded a whole bunch of instructions on Gigi. And that was the first time it was like a deer in the headlights. I was like, if she wakes up, do this, and this, and this, and that, and this.
Yeah.
But she's probably not going to wake up. But if she does and wants to go, and I'm still dropping Shelby off, you can both go on your way.
Yeah.
And not be like waiting around for me. So yeah, I hauled back down to drop Shelby off at her car in Cottonwood and came back, and with a few minutes to spare, went and woke you up and got you packed up. And then you both went on your way up the kind of one of the second most memorable climbs, I think, the Kasner climb.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
Now, did you cross the water again like last year? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So again, like I know these sections so well because I've run them so many times because they're our backyard trails. In the winter, we head down to Sedona all the time. And so that section was like, so we left right as the sun was setting. And so by the time we got to the water crossing, it was definitely dark. As we were approaching it, I was like, I do not want to stop after we cross because I don't want to get cold from being wet and now the sunset and So before we got there, I was like, all right, Gigi, I'm gonna down some calories because I don't want to have to do this after we cross. And so ate a bunch. We got to the creek crossing and it was flowing pretty good actually. And Gigi was trying to not get wet and I was like, I don't think there's a way around it. Like I think you just gotta accept it. Like this is where we are. Last
year it wasn't a choice. It was like thigh deep.
Yeah, it was
with a rope.
Right. Yeah, we had the rope again this year. I feel like I hit my knee depth wise. And it's just slick, you know? So poor Gigi was like trying to like rock hop. Later on, I found out there were a couple of people who actually rock hopped and didn't get their feet wet. And I was like, I don't know where you did that because I looked and I was like, it's not really possible. So anyway, we were wet. We were climbing. That Kasner climb is no joke. You get out of the creek bed and you got a little bit of like meandering and then you just start climbing and you climb and climb and climb and climb. And it is rocky and it is steep and it is, I mean, just super technical, bushwhacky. And I don't remember it being that bad last year. But you did that section with me last year.
Right. Yeah, we were in the zone.
Yeah.
Last year.
And I can climb. Like that's the thing is I loved it. Like I loved climbing it again this year. And I was just like powering up. Gigi at one point, because it's so like rocky and loose and you just can't get really good footing. She like slipped and fell into a bush.
Like hopefully it was on the mountainside.
Yes, it was. But it was like, you know, I mean, it's just
treacherous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a couple miles or something
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
up. I don't know.
Up to the Cocodona Plateau.
Yeah, from Sedona to the top of the rim, basically.
Yeah. And then it, like, I just remember at one point being like, oh, we're almost at the top of this climb. And then I look up and I see headlamps like still way, way up the mountain.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, we're not done climbing. Like that was a false summit.
Yeah, that's a perspective doing those things at night versus the daytime.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily see the people.
Yeah. Well, and it had leveled out and it was just like a false summit. And I thought we had done it. And then when I saw that, I was like, no.
Yeah. But look behind you.
No, I know.
You know, and
Oh,
look at the headlamps all the way down there.
Yeah.
You're like, I was just there.
Yeah.
This is easy.
And I was passing people because I was still moving really well and I can climb. Like when I'm tired, I can climb.
Yeah.
That's what I learned on this.
Well, and a bit of an advantage with altitude training too. You know, living at elevation.
Yeah.
Definitely helps with climbing
sure.
Specifically. I think it helps
for sure
be more efficient on the climbs.
But Gigi was over it.
She was over it, like at the false summit?
She was over it.
Oh, that's funny.
She was like, this shit is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know. Trust me.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm like 160 plus miles in.
Yeah.
So anyway, we finally get to the top and I'm like, where is this water station? Like I thought it was a lot closer, and we keep going and going and going and going and going and finally get to the water drop.
Was in the same spot as last year.
Yeah, we filled up a little bit of water and got some calories, and then I was like, we gotta move because we're gonna get cold because now we're up on the plateau. And so I was like, all right, Gigi, like lead the way. And she was able to power hike because she's real tall and real lanky, like got really long stride. She was able to like power hike on this road to keep me at a pace that was like moving faster than everyone else. And I was just like slow jogging it, and I could slow jog the whole thing. So I like slow jogged from the Schnebly Outlook to the Schnebly aid station.
Really?
And I passed so many people because I was just able to like shuffle and like keep a pace that was like moving me closer to the aid station faster because I really just wanted more sleep. Like this is the thing. I just want to get to the next aid station so I can get more sleep.
Yeah.
And so so I passed a ton of people. I got to that aid station. We couldn't find you as we rolled in. And so I just like sat in a chair and I was like, I need to get some like warm liquid in me so that I don't freeze. And I was sitting there and I was like trying to tell the aid station workers what I wanted. And I was so tired that I was like, the words wouldn't come out of my mouth. And they were like, I think you need to see a medic. I was like, no, I just need sleep. Like, I know I just need sleep. And at that point I was like, man, I hope Gigi finds Dylan because I just want to find the truck and get in and get some sleep. But it was, let's see. So that was mile 178. And yeah, I slept for an hour in the back of the truck there.
Yeah. And I had sent her text messages, I guess, and just said, I'm going to be parked there right at the entrance to the right. I'll be parked. And I sent her the text just hoping and come wake me up. Yeah. Cause I'm starting to be over it also. And,
well, it was like middle of the night.
Yeah. Right. And I'm just like, I'm not going to wake up every hour. Just Gigi, just find the truck, wake me up. Yeah. And we'll switch places.
Yeah. Right.
And so that's what she did.
Yeah.
She woke me up, and the first thing she said to me was, she looked that was her second deer in the headlights moment. She was like, that was a lot harder than I expected. Yeah. She was like, she just kept talking about how like steep it was. And I think like it was like kind of, it was just, she was very surprised by that bit. Yeah. Yeah. I think it took her by surprise.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Anyway,
got you in the truck, got you to sleep.
Slept for an hour. Again, I was out right away.
Yeah.
But when you woke me up at that aid station, I didn't know what was happening. I was like, what? Why am I awake? What are we doing? And you were like, come on, we got to get going. I was like, oh, okay.
We going to Disneyland?
Like, I had no idea. I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean? I just, like, what do we do? Like, why are we awake and it's dark? Like, I was very confused.
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, get up. We're getting your shoes on. We're getting you out of here.
Which was great. That's what I needed.
So I can get back in there and sleep for 4 more hours.
But then, like, I started putting my shoes on. I still didn't know what was happening. Like, you were putting the pack on me, and I didn't know what was happening.
Really?
Yeah. And then, yeah, I know. I hit it because I was like, I guess I just got to act cool.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Even up to the pack point?
Oh, yeah.
It didn't
Oh,
click?
yeah. We were going, and I was like, wait, Gigi, what are we doing? Like, she's like, we're going to Munns Park. Let's go. And I was
Whoa.
like, okay. And then, like, I started moving, and I was like, okay. I'm in the middle of Cocodona. We're going to the next aid station. Yeah.
Wow.
It was like my brain hadn't woken up.
Yeah.
Like, it was still in that dream state that I was, like, trying to figure out how to wake up. Like, that sleep deprivation had started to really hit at that point.
That's 100% what it was.
That's where it really started. Because, like, I was tired before, but it wasn't sleep deprivation feeling like that
Confusion. Yeah. Confusion seems to be a big one with sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Like, starting to blend the lines between waking and sleeping.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I had no
gets
idea.
Tricky. Yeah.
I had no idea what was happening there for a little while.
Caffeine. When did we?
Gosh, when did we start?
I gave you some caffeine because one of the
I think
strategies
it was later.
Yeah. It was, let's pop some caffeine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
remember when that was.
Yeah, I don't either.
Did
That kind of fell apart, that plan.
Well, okay. I do remember taking it on the stretch out of Fort Hill to Walnut.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you gave me like 3. So I do remember that, but I feel like we had it sooner.
Yeah.
And that might have been one of them.
Yeah.
You may have given me one when I left. I don't remember.
Yeah, there was yeah. I was like, here, have a little juice.
But that, like, section from Schnebly to Munns, I just think it's so boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just forest road. There's nothing remarkable about it. I don't know. It's just not like a fun section for me. And therefore I had the biggest meltdown I've ever had in a race.
Okay.
At that point, I was sleep deprived. I was overstimulated in so many senses. Like, my sinuses and everything were just so raw. My mouth was raw from all the food I had eaten. My feet were overstimulated. Just everything felt like the sensory overload was just like coming to my brain, and I couldn't like handle all of the sensories that were happening. My clothes started to feel like I just wanted to rip them off. Like, I didn't want something touching my skin. I was like over it. Like 100% over it.
Is this like when you see people running around in the woods naked? Is this like the beginning of that?
I took my shirt off.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I can't handle this feeling on my skin right now.
Huh.
Like, it was just so much. Like, everything was just in overdrive. And at one point, I was just like, Gigi, this is so freaking hard. This is so freaking hard. Like, I am not in a good place right now. And I started to like tear up as I was like walking, and I was just like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And I kind of went a bit further, and then like a quarter of a mile later, I saw this boulder that I sat on, and then I just like started bawling. And I was like, this is so freaking hard. Like, I cannot do this right now. Like, I need a minute because I am way over my limit at this point. Like, I've been pushing. I've been like trying to stay ahead of schedule on my times. I can't handle the stimulation on my foot. Like, all these rocks are just feeling like they're just like too much on my feet at this point. I lost it. And I was just sitting there sobbing, and she was like, it's okay. Like, you know. And then this runner passed me, and he was like, I'm with you. And I was like, yeah, see, he knows. Like, I was just like, I can't handle it. Like, I've never been that low. I've never been that low. And so I was just like, I guess, nobody's coming for me. I feel freaking terrible. So don't push me right now. I'm going to do what I can to get to the aid station, but I want you to know that, like, I am on a breaking point right now. And
this is what you said to Gigi?
Yeah. And she was just so patient. She was just like, yeah, it'll pass. Like, just,
Yeah.
She was so patient. It was perfect because nothing she would have said would have helped.
Yeah.
Like, she just let me have my moment and just like let me have a pity party. And like,
I'd love to phone a friend right now and actually
get
her, like,
I know.
What was she just like, I don't know what to say, so I'm not going to say anything?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Like,
yeah, but I've never been like that. I've always been able to be like, this is hard. This is happening. Let's keep going. I was not okay.
Yeah. So would you say that was your lowest point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the lowest point I've ever had by far.
On any race?
By far.
All time?
Yeah.
All time greatest, lowest point?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And then I think we made it about a mile later and I was like, Gigi, I gotta take the shirt off. Like, I cannot handle it. And I had a long sleeve, like, zip up, and I was like, I just need a different material on my skin. And it was just a totally different material with that zip up. And I was like, all right, this is better, but I still want out of all of these clothes. Like, I think going through the water, like, irritated my skin on my lower half. Like, I think that was overstimulated from the water crossing. I think the sweat had made my shirt wet, and then it was like rubbing, and I just had so many hours of that I was just like, I need a fresh pair of clothes. Like, I need some whole new get up here because this is not working. And so, yeah, I really struggled getting into Muns. It was, that was tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a boring stretch. Like,
and the 125s didn't have to do that stretch because they got rerouted in that bit because of permitting for the Mexican owl section. So yeah.
And so I rolled in and I think I just melted. I don't remember a whole lot. You tell me what you saw.
Yeah, at Muns.
Yeah.
So yeah, my dad came to that one. That was when my parents got into town to help out.
That was awesome.
Allison was your next pacer, and I was coordinating with her, and she had a bit of an emergency with a different friend. She had paced a previous section already, so she like went home and tried to get as much sleep as possible. She paced a previous section for someone else, and then tried to go home and get as much sleep as possible. And then she was helping. She's like a medic. Like, I think she works for Guardian. She's like a right?
Not Guardian, but she's a flight nurse.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So she's like knows medical stuff, and she had a friend that needed some advice that was running and ended up dropping because she had a pretty serious infection. But she was dealing with that and trying to get that sorted out, and then also show up for you
and like communicate with you that she was going to be there, but she just wasn't.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like a relatively chaotic morning. And I was like shoving burritos in my mouth, also trying to get food in. And yeah, no, I mean, you rolled in and you didn't seem particularly bad at that point, or I wasn't remarkably bad. Yeah, you didn't really. You didn't from my perspective. We were in, again, autopilot on getting you in, getting you sleeping. You changed clothes afterwards, after you woke up. That was a key thing there. You brushed your teeth. Oh, that was another thing too we were good about, was taking care of your teeth.
I'm particular about my teeth.
Yeah, but it's important in any endurance sport. When
you feel fresh,
like
you just brush your teeth after you've been running for however long. Oh man, there's nothing better.
Well, I think at some point it's actually a critical component of being able to continue to eat later on in a race, especially for something that goes on for like, say, 12 days, 10 days, like Arizona Trail Race or Tour Divide.
Yeah.
You have to do that, or
Yeah.
else your mouth gets so raw you can't eat
Yeah.
anymore, right?
Yeah.
I remember seeing Alex Schultz at the top of Mount Lemmon on the Arizona Trail 300. I was doing the 300, he was doing the 8, and we were in the bathroom together.
Yeah.
And he was brushing his teeth.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, dude, you go.
Yeah.
And he's like, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to eat in 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And my mouth did get raw. So,
yeah. So, I mean, that's just like the minimum thing you can do is keep your
Yes.
mouth clean, you know?
yeah, for sure.
Because you're just shoving all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff in there that you have to shove in.
For sure.
So yeah, you freshened up there at Munn's. My dad came up with the concept of taking the bacon that they were serving in the pancakes and making bacon pancake sandwiches with syrup in the middle.
Yeah.
And so we packed a couple of those and sent
Man,
them.
pancakes, can I just say, are probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're just fluffy. They're so fluffy. They're filling. They're tasty.
hmm They soak up that syrup,
Oh, man,
the sugar from that syrup.
they're great.
You know how I feel about maple syrup.
Yeah.
I'm pro maple syrup.
So,
Shout out Corey Kronzer.
So I had some pancakes and stuff there, and I felt so much better after getting new clothes, getting a nap, brushing my teeth.
Yeah. Yep.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
But I just like needed that. I knew I needed to take my time there and reset. And I think I even told you that. I think I said, like, I need to take my time here.
Yep. Ahead of time. Yeah. Which was great.
Because
The
I was like,
communication,
I need a full reset because I just had a full on meltdown.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. So shout out to Gigi for putting up with my temper tantrum.
Yeah, that part of the course and the temper tantrum.
Yeah,
she probably
for
got the
sure.
worst.
Yeah, she
this
really
year.
did. She really did.
Thank you, Gigi.
Yeah, seriously.
We owe you one. Okay. On to Kelly.
Kelly Canyon.
Yeah, Kelly Canyon.
Yeah, so Allison took me out of Munn's and
Oh yeah, I just want to say,
yeah.
Allison, you had like a huge blister.
Yeah.
Your blisters were
Yeah.
getting pretty bad at this point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you did have a different shoe strategy this time,
Yeah.
which was to rotate different types of shoes based on the type of terrain that you would be running on.
Yes.
Last year, you just kept one shoe and just rotated the same shoe in and out.
Yeah.
And so this year, you had a variety of shoes, and the point of that was to try and help with this like nerve sensitivity.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But it may, I don't know if it did or didn't contribute more. There could have been other factors to the blisters, but you had a pretty huge blister
Yeah.
on the inside of your
Left.
your
Yeah.
inside of your left foot at that time. Yeah. And Allison just like whipped out her like medically sealed to go scalpel.
Yeah. I was like, this is what I've been missing in my life.
Yeah. It was like a legit scalpel, but it was like in medically sealed sterile packaging and
Yeah.
everything. And she just like was like, oh yeah, just here you go. And I'm like, okay,
It was awesome.
awesome.
Because it just like
Yeah,
cleared
we just
that.
sliced that bad boy
Yeah.
right out and cleared
Yeah.
it out, and then we
Yeah.
put on kind of a little blister pad thingy, and I sent you on your way. So
Yeah.
I just had to.
Yeah, no, that was
talk
awesome
about
because
that.
I've been using nail clippers. Don't listen to any medical professionals. I'm sure that's not okay.
Yeah, no nail. Yeah, no, I
But
get the
you don't
theory.
you don't want a small opening like a safety pin because it just it seals,
Seals.
and then it
Yeah, you can't
refills.
just pop it. You need to
you need
open
a
up a
real
hole
hole
or a
yeah.
slice.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
like a medically sterile
Yes.
scalpel would probably be the best thing. However, they're super sharp. They're scalpels, so like we had to
Yeah.
be super careful that I didn't cut too deep, and I kind of tried to like cut on a downward angle,
Yeah.
so I wasn't cutting like into your skin and deeper in.
Yeah. Just so you know, I didn't feel it at all. Like you did it right, but
Yeah,
but
but probably should just go to the medic. Disclaimer,
for sure.
like just go to the professionals.
For sure. Yeah.
But that's what we did.
But it worked.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that was great.
So tell me about that section in Kelly.
Okay, so that section I was way better after getting that reset, and then I was just so thankful to have Allison because she's so skilled in pacing. Like she's done it enough times that she knows like, hey, take in some calories, get some liquid, keeping on top of that.
She's seasoned.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Both in running and in pacing.
Yeah. And so she was great because like I would be like, I think I need just a minute here. And then I'd be sitting there and she's like, all right, we got to go. We're done. You're done resting. Like, let's go. And then she would challenge me to like, okay, let's run to that sign. Let's run to that tree. Like, and so it was pushing me to get to the aid stations much quicker because I just was like starting to shut down. And so that was awesome. We rolled into Kelly Canyon. I was like, I think I just need 15 minutes. Like, let me get 15 minutes with my feet elevated. Because at that point, my feet had really started to just have the accumulative effect of being on my feet for 3.5 days. And so we found like a lawn chair and they had like a tent and I just like laid down and put my feet up and fell asleep and I was out. And I was like, can you see if they have quesadillas? Because like I would really love to eat a quesadilla when I wake up. And I was like, I haven't had a quesadilla this whole time. And I just really, really want one. And she woke up and handed me 2 quesadillas. I think I ate both of them and then took another one to go. And I was like, did I sleep? And she's like, yeah, you were snoring. And I was like, okay, good. Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought I slept, but it was such a short stint. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, all right, I'm just going to water and I'm going to start because she needed to like refill something or something. And I started to walk off and she's like, hey, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going. And she's like, the course is this way. And I was like, okay, this is where we're at.
Yeah. There you go. That's how string bean can go the wrong way.
Yeah, seriously. When you're just pushing for that long, like you're just not thinking. You're just not making good decisions. And so then we got going and I started to like just the cumulative effect was really taking its toll on me at that point. And I was really trying to just keep it together. And I wanted to be at Fort Tuthill. I wanted to be done. I wanted to be, like off my feet again. And so like, it was always like, God, how far out is the next aid station? Cause I just want to get there. Mm-hmm. I just want to get there. Like as soon as I left, I was like, I just want to get to Fort Tuthill, which is not a good place to be mentally. And she's like, you can't think about that. Like, let's just get to the, Kachina road, like let's get that as a goal, and then like let's get to the tunnel as the goal, and then let's get to because like I just needed smaller segments to feel like I was making progress, because it just felt like I wasn't making progress at that point.
Yeah, the ultimate drops in a bucket.
Yeah
To requote you.
Yeah so that stretch to Fort Tuthill just felt like it went on forever, just because I mentally was just really struggling with moving. But again, like she was awesome because she just kept me moving at a clip that was not stagnant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started to get really out of my head at that point, like really sleep deprived. Like I wasn't able to grasp all the information that was coming at me. So a lot of like that section just feels like dead space. I don't remember the details of that at all. So, but yeah, we rolled into Fort Tuthill. And
what day is it now?
So that would have been Thursday.
Okay. The thing started on a Monday morning, right?
Yeah, Monday at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So I got in
Tuesday, Wednesday through you're now 3 days into running. Yeah.
Yeah, I got in at like 4:30 p.m. to Fort Tuthill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and both my folks were there. Jen was there. This was the handoff. Jen was going to take over pacing at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, we parked ourselves next to the medical station. We just found a spot kind of out of the way, and we happened to be next to the medical station. And pro tip number 6, or whatever number we're on.
Yeah.
You are keeping tally here. If you're crew, don't park next to the medical station, because number one, everybody thinks you're medical. I mean, I guess we look official because everybody came up to us and was like, will you pop my blisters? And I was like, nah, sorry. I'll do that for my wife, but I'm not going to do it for you. But anyway, everybody thought we were medical. And also we were like easy targets, I guess, for the over-ambitious medical staff, I would call them, to put it nicely.
Wow, that is a really nice
It's
way
very
to
diplomatic.
say it.
Well, I want to preface this story by saying, like, I'm very thankful that there is so much medical staff and volunteers and people just trying to do the right thing and trying to help.
Yeah, care.
Right? And they care. And
Yeah.
so, like, what happened there, it was just someone trying to be nice and help. It just was a little overcooked, right? And I think we all learned a lesson on that one. So you rolled up, and you, like you had previously done many times, you immediately started shaking. We covered you up with a sleeping bag. We handed you some hot food. We started to get some hot food in you. And then one of the medical staff people came out and saw this, and I could understand how this would look really bad, right? And look like a medical emergency. And then she kind of like imposed herself, and I think that she thought that I think she thought that we truly probably had a bit of a medical emergency. Now, the problem is she didn't come talk to me or talk to any of the crew ahead of time and kind of ask maybe a few preliminary questions investigating. She just kind of jumped in, took the food out of your hands.
All I remember is she was like in my face.
She was in your
all of a
face.
sudden.
She was like bombarding you with questions.
Yeah.
She was like almost trying to force you to change your clothes. And you were actively saying, no, I don't want to change my clothes. I don't need to. But, I'm trying to put myself in her shoes as much as possible in this, and it did kind of look like the crew was kind of checked out, and but we were kind of like, well, she's just going to shake and it's going to go away just like it has at every other aid station, You
knew the process.
Yeah. And I'd only, if I could turn back time, I wish I would have jumped in and pulled the lady aside and said, look, can we talk really quick first? Because I just kind of threw my hands up and I was kind of like upset at that point.
Yeah.
My ego got hurt. I was like, fine.
Yeah.
You think you know what's best? Whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And when she said to me, this was a big faux pas on her part. She said, this is the longest she's ever run before, right? And I was like, okay, you immediately just lost credibility.
Right.
With me because you just assumed all this stuff was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And, you should have you should have gone up to the crew and said, who's like the main crew person here? Can we talk really quick?
Yeah.
And then gotten a little information before you assumed all these other things were happening.
Yeah.
Right. So, she was just trying to help. I'm not going to bash her too much, but like she could have.
It felt invasive, like
Totally.
As being the person that it was happening to. I felt like all of a sudden I was like subject to whatever it was that she wanted to ask and do. And
yeah,
I was like, whoa, and I didn't have the brain at that point to be like, back off.
Yeah. Well, and we didn't want to be too combative either.
Yeah.
Because these are the people that could basically call your race for you.
Right.
So
well, and
if we rubbed her the wrong way.
I know. And like you said, it's not a good look when I'm sitting there shivering, right? Coming in. But it passes. And whatever it is that my brain is doing, it's just the overstimulation, I think, of everything. Every sensory is just overstimulated, and it's just my body is just figuring out how to restabilize.
Yeah.
And so I get that it doesn't look good, but I know I'm not the only one that this happens to.
Yeah. And see, I haven't seen that, but I also haven't looked. I think you should have you remember the movie Joker where he has a laminated card where he hands somebody.
I'm going to ask my doctor for it
that
because
he has this condition.
Yeah.
And that it's okay.
Yeah.
And not to freak out. I honestly think that might be a good solution to carry this.
Yeah.
And as a crew member, I could say, I could probably, like, if someone comes over, I could say, here's, you know, she has a medical condition
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
Like, she's
But
prone
this is
to
a normal response.
This is a
for
normal
her.
response.
Yeah.
It's not dehydration. Because there's, like, what you were doing looks like a lot of other, like, serious issues.
Yeah, right.
So, like
hypothermia.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think this lady seriously thought it was hypothermia.
Yeah.
And that's why she wanted you to change her clothes.
Right.
But the thing she didn't ask was, like, when was the last time she changed her clothes?
Or, like, I don't know, just, like, take a second. Like, all of a sudden you're grilling me and I'm, like,
Right.
haven't slept for 4 days and, you know.
Right. And she was
like,
grilling me too. She was like, how much sleep has she had in the last 4 days? And I'm like, I don't know. 7 hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm kind of I'm not logging it down, you know.
Yeah.
We're just getting from aid station to aid station.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope she learned something from it. I definitely learned something on how to deal with it differently next time.
Because she was going to have me go to sleep for 20 minutes, wake me up, and then let me finish my sleep. And I was like,
why would you disrupt sleep like that?
Yeah, can I just sleep for 90
Yeah.
minutes? Because I asked you. I was like, I need 90 minutes here.
Yeah.
And Allison was like, you should have more than an hour, you know. So I knew that was going to be my longest stop for sleep. So anyway, she wouldn't let me go into the normal cots. Like, she wanted
like
me
dark
in the
room.
medical tent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I was disappointed with that whole situation, but you know, you live and you learn.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think she was trying to do the right thing, but I think she was like overreacting and could have just like seen how it was going.
Yep.
Because I wasn't cold.
Yep.
It was just my normal response.
Look, I think if you get checked into the hospital, you don't want the person taking care of you like freaking out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
You want that person to be, it was like it was her first day on the job.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Or she was like a fill-in or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it felt like. And
and you were just letting me go through the motions like you had done at every other aid station after Deer Pass, and like it's just what I do is like I start to shake, and that's just like my response. And
maybe she like had just dealt with somebody who had a serious medical emergency.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like maybe that just happened.
Yeah.
And it was a real big deal.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like after some reflection on what happened, like I was just in a bad mood.
But I just
at that
appreciate that you were able to like stand up for me, because I couldn't do it, because I was just so out of it. So I was just appreciative that you were there.
Yeah.
So
that was that.
So after that drama, I got 90 minutes of sleep. She didn't wake me up after 20 minutes. And then I got some more food before I left. And I was like, I need a minute still. Like, I need to regroup still.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think I need to phone a friend. And that's when I had you FaceTime Janae.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, starting to mentally not be okay again.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the daunting, like, I knew I wasn't close to being done. And sure enough, Janae was out on a run. And it was like 10 p.m. her time, and she was out on a run. And so it just like really lifted my spirits to have that. So
yeah,
so,
it did.
But we left Fort Tile at, I don't know, the sun was still up, but it was setting. So we had a little bit of daylight still.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, there's something in my eye. And Jen was real patient with me, because at that point, like, your body just stops working. And so, like, when you have to pee now. Like, not 2 seconds from now, like now.
Mm-hmm.
And
hey, that's like me all the time.
I know. you do.
Now you know what it's
yeah,
like.
It's terrible. It's
to be
terrible
plagued with this type of bladder, Turner bladder syndrome.
Yeah, not a real syndrome, people.
I need a laminated card.
Yeah. So she was really patient, because like at that point I was just like, I don't know when this is gonna happen, but you gotta just like give me grace, and like I'm not gonna be able to find a bush. Like I just gotta go.
Yeah. Totally.
So I knew that section was long. It's like a 17-mile section. I knew that it's not There's nothing too remarkable about it.
Yeah.
We had some prescribed fires in the area, so there was some smoke settling, and it didn't really bother me, but I was just like, oh, like I can smell it, right? Like it's not like contributing to the first day and a half of inhaling dust, but that was just all shot at that point anyway.
Yep.
So yeah, so we went a little bit, and actually Tyler was testing something on his bike, and he found us on the trail and like stopped and rode with us for like a minute.
Cool.
So that was cool. That was cool to see Tyler.
Yeah.
And then we kept going, and it just felt like that section would never end. It felt like it was a never ending section.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like we took the same swooping turns over and over. I felt like it was Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so tired. I couldn't get it together. Like I just was starting to melt down, and I just was like, I've been pushing for so long now that it's like my everything's overshot. And so we were going, and I was like, all right, I gotta pee, and I gotta pee now. So I pulled off, and I went pee, and I got done, and Jen was peeing, and I was like, I don't know which way we're supposed to go on the trail right now. I was like, Jen, I'm so glad you're here right now, because I don't know which way we're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, okay, this is scary.
Mm-hmm.
like that's where my brain is, like
disorientation.
Total sleep deprivation. And it was getting cold, and so I knew I couldn't stop. Like I wanted food, but I knew I couldn't stop because it was just cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I had all my layers on and stuff, but it just wasn't something you could combat. Like so anyway, struggle through that section. That was a tough section.
Mm-hmm.
Jen handled me really well too. I knew we were close when we got to like the little canyon thing that you climb out of, but I didn't think it was as far away. Like we still had a couple miles out of that. For some reason I thought it was like a mile, and I think it was like 3 miles after that or something. And I just like mentally was like, oh my God, like, can we just get to this aid station? And I knew that that's not the right mindset to have, like, because it just feels like it drags on longer.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, I need sleep again. Like I'm shot. And so I think at that point, I knew that my left foot blister was completely blowing up. And I was like, I need medical, and I need medical ASAP once I get there.
To Walnut.
Yeah. And so we finally get there. I mean, it felt like it lasted forever. We finally get there, and I just immediately go into the medical tent, and I was like, I need help. And they were like, okay. And they were like, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have a blister, and I'm really afraid to look. And they were like, okay, well, let's take a look. Because I was like, this whole side of my foot is completely gone. And sure enough, I take it off, and it's just like blistered. I mean, the blister that we had treated at Munn's with the scalpel with Allison had turned into like 4 times the size.
Yeah. And it was very cold.
And it was very cold.
At this point.
Yeah.
Very cold.
They had a space heater
inside the medical tent.
tent.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah. There was already another guy passed out.
That was Andrew Glaze.
Oh, okay.
He had gotten actual hypothermia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I show them, and they're like, all right. So they have me pop it because I can't pop it. They can't. That's considered surgery.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you have to pop it yourself. And so
Okay.
I did. That's fine. I don't care.
They just give you the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then they help drain it,
Mhm.
and then they help tape it. And
So like piercing the skin is where it's considered surgery?
I don't know if it's surgery, but it's like, I don't know, invasive enough that they can't do it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like liability wise.
Yep.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
But they'll give you the needle to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. Interesting.
So, anyway, so they drained it and I was like, there's more fluid. And sure enough, like we popped another section and I was like, yeah, this whole freaking side of my foot is
The
shot.
gift that just keeps giving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think we did one other blister, but I just remember that was like huge.
Yeah.
It was huge.
There should be just a whole YouTube channel for like Cocodona blister popping.
Yeah,
sessions.
I know. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, you know, you're going to get some, and honestly, they're not that bad, but like, you know, that if you just keep going, like, it just gets bigger and bigger. You have to treat them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to treat them. The blisters aren't the painful part unless they get too big or like the skin totally rips off.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they got me patched up and then I was like, I'm going to sleep. I need 90 minutes. Let me sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, medical tent, can I stay here? And they were like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, shut up.
You
I
got
get
so lucky.
paid.
Yeah.
Caught. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I would have been fine if I would have been in the back of the truck, I'm sure. But I like, the task of going to the truck was too much.
Yeah, even though it was a quarter mile away.
I couldn't handle
Yeah.
it.
Well, and so there were also some problems with the Kogala light coming into this. Jen had some issues with your lighting. The light just shut off.
Yeah, so the battery died.
Yeah, well, that's what you thought.
That's what I thought.
That's not what ended up happening.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah. It was just a bad plug.
Oh.
Yep. Because
Oh.
she came into the aid station and was like, you know, dumped information on me and was like, the Kogala lights, the battery died. I switched over to the other one. And so we took it all back to the truck and like evaluated everything while you were sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And the battery was full. It was just a bad connection. It just had come loose or something.
Oh,
The
interesting.
USB or whatever plugs into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. From the pack to the light. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it had just, yeah. Which was
because we plugged in the extra one, the extra
the backup
spare battery.
right.
And
So
that was
you
fine.
had carried. Let's just recap for people. For lighting, you have like 4 layers of redundancy, right? You have
freaked out.
well, lighting's
about it.
important, right?
Yeah.
Like lighting is one of those things that if you don't have it, you can't
Yeah.
go on unless it's a very moonlit night. But you need redundancy
Yeah.
on lighting. So you had a headlamp. You have a headlamp, a backup battery for a headlamp.
Yep.
A Kogala light with your pacer, and a backup battery for the Kogala light. And then occasionally the pacer has a backup light too.
Well, so okay, I have my one headlamp that I wear.
Oh, right.
A backup battery to that
Right.
headlamp. And then in my head, I'm like, well, what happens if the bulb dies? I need another headlamp. So I have an extra actual headlamp that's smaller,
Right.
light, but like would get me through.
Right.
So yes, we have backups on backups. Right.
Yeah.
And so I told her, I was like, you know, if this dies, don't worry about it. I've got an extra in my pack.
Right.
Like, this is why I have redundancies.
Yeah. So Jen and my dad and I, this was like 1 a.m. or something. This was the middle of the night. I'll go back to the truck and just sit in the truck and sleep, basically.
Yeah.
Well, my dad doesn't sleep. He's just like checking the news in the back seat. He's just like reading the news.
He's ready to go.
Yeah, he was
great.
he was in the zone.
Yeah.
Me and Jen were like passed out.
So I am in the medical tent. I told you 90 minutes. And then at like an hour and 15 minutes, I was like, I have to pee so bad.
Yeah.
And I told the medical tent, like, can you text him? Because you had my pack with my phone. And I was like, can you just text him and tell him, like, I'm ready?
I didn't have your pack, by the way. We just left it
I didn't
in
know.
a chair. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
We just
know.
left your stuff in a chair, which everybody's doing that.
But they texted you.
Yeah.
And then you hadn't come and I was like, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
So I found my shoes. I didn't have socks. And I was putting them on and you walked in and I was like, oh my God, thank you. I need to put these socks on and I need to go pee.
Yeah.
So I was so relieved you saw it. But it was so hard to leave that aid station because it was 3:30 in the morning and it was cold. It was windy. It was dark. I was tired. Like, it was so
But it's
hard.
the end. This is it. This is the last
I know,
bit.
but it was so hard to leave that aid station because I knew we weren't going to have sunlight for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, like, we're not done. So anyway, you sent me off with some burritos.
Yeah, they had pretty good food there.
Yeah, for sure. I think I ate a couple, and then you sent me with a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna eat these like when the sun comes up. And Jen and I left, and we're just like power hiking to try to get my spirits back up. And I'm over it at this point. And I was like hungry. Like I was noticeably hungry, and I was like, I need to eat, but I really don't want to eat until the sun comes up because I don't want to stop and freeze. And the sun hadn't come up yet, but I was like, Jen, I need to stop and I need to eat. And so we sat and ate a burrito, and I was like, I really want to eat another one, but I'm going to freeze if we don't get going. So we should get going. And so we started going, and I don't know, maybe like 15, 20 minutes later, I was like, all right, let's stop and eat this other burrito. And that's when the other infamous picture.
Yeah, which I'll put at the beginning. This is the picture from the beginning.
I was sitting on a stump trying to eat my burrito, and I couldn't chew. I was so tired. And I just had my burrito, and I was like, just every ounce of me was trying to chew, and I couldn't do it. And I looked at Jen, and I was like, I need 5-minute trail nap.
I need 5-minute trail nap.
I was so tired.
I need 5 minutes, and then you just fetal position.
And then I just rolled off of that stump and fell asleep immediately. And I did not need to be on my back for that sleep.
Right.
I was so
Didn't
tired.
matter. Yeah.
And I remember having about 7 dreams. I woke up and I was like, wow, I had dreams about lots of different people in that 4 minutes and 45 seconds that I was asleep. And then I was like, okay, I feel way better. Like, let's finish this burrito and let's go. And we did, you know. Everyone talks about the climb up Eldon, so I'll touch on that. But honestly, like, once you've been going for that long, I feel like the flat stuff is so much harder than the climbs. Like, the climbs actually feel productive. Mm-hmm. The flat stuff does not feel productive. So I knew, I've done Eldon so many times now, like what to expect, and that, you know, it's hard, but you just do it.
Yeah. My theory on that, both biking and running, is the flats are not distracting.
Yeah.
The climbs, the hike a bike, the dynamic stuff is so distracting because you're constantly, your brain is having to think about, where am I going to put my foot? Where am I going to put my hands? You have to like navigate these things.
Yeah.
That the time goes by faster.
Yeah,
right?
It does.
Which simulates that it's easier.
Yeah.
Right. And those flats, like when I did a Maricopa trail race, it was just, those canals were just miserable because it was just like a straight path.
Yeah.
And it was just so not distracting.
Yeah.
I would have rather been hiking my bike.
Yeah, right. Because
at least I'm distracted.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my theory on that.
I think that's true for sure. Like, you know, as I'm going up Eldon, I was thinking like, oh, okay, like I've taken the last 10 big step ups with my right foot. Like I need to switch it up and take those steps with my left foot too. You know? So yeah, for sure. But as I was going up Eldon, I was getting this pain on the front of my shin. And it was like when I was pushing up, it was like this tendon or whatever was just like on fire. And I didn't notice it until we were climbing. I'm sure it would have been true earlier in the race, but like I didn't realize it until we were going up those big steps. And I was like, man, this is like could stop me in my tracks. Mm-hmm. So I was also like trying to like figure out how to take steps without that hurting. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like the finish line should be at the top of Eldon.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not alone.
So we got to the top and I was
there's a meat guy up there, Mortimer Meat Man, right?
Pete Mortimer. Yeah. Pete's Meats.
Yeah. Is that the same as Mortimer Farms?
No.
Different Mortimer.
No. Okay. He's like an ultra running legend. So we get to the aid station there, and I knew that I shouldn't blow through it, but I was so ready to be done. So I think I had a hot cocoa, some Coke. I feel like I ate something. And I was like, man, I could just stay here, but I should just get going. And so like I told Jen, I was like, we got to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got to go, or this is going to be forever. And so off we went, and I was fine running down the road. That was fine. And then something happened, and it felt like the whole bottom of my foot was a blister and that the skin was moving. Yeah. Every time I would go up, and it was like on the ball of my foot, all the way through my arch. And I was like, I don't feel it on the downs, but every step up, it just feels like that's sliding with liquid underneath, and this is not good. And it felt like it was just about to rip off on both feet. And I was like, all right, Jen, I got to be careful on this, because I think like there could be serious repercussions if I don't take it easy on the ups and rip this. I was like severely concerned that I was going to rip the skin off of the bottom of my foot, like in one huge thing. And
Nice.
Yeah, I know, it was such a terrible feeling. And I was so close, and I was like, why is this happening now? And there's some single track that gets you into Buffalo Park, and it's got some like rollers, and then you got like this little pitch up into Buffalo Park. And I was just like, I was like trying to walk on my tiptoes. I was trying to walk on my heels to like get rid of that feeling, but it was just like so bothersome. And then when we got to Buffalo Park, I was so sleep deprived that I couldn't grasp that I was almost done. And I was like trying to regain that control, and I just couldn't do it. I didn't regain the control until I was like running down Hospital Hill. And that's when I was like, oh, this is happening. Like, this is it. Like, we're done. Like, I did it, this is finally, like, this couldn't have come any sooner. Like, I was pretty much over it at that, from like Kelly Canyon on, I was over it. So, well, months. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then I came in, and I got emotional this year at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just felt like I had pushed so much harder this year than last year, and I had overcome a lower low, and it just felt so hard. Like, you kind of remember when you do these things, but you don't really after the fact. And I said, I'm never doing it again. I mean, I don't want to say never, but I feel fulfilled this year.
Yeah. Yeah, you said that last year.
I know.
So
I feel fulfilled this year, though.
We all said, let's give her a month last year and see what she says then.
I know,
and so
but
it was the same thing this year.
I know, but I wanted to execute on the things that we learned from last year, and we did. And like the aid station stops were so efficient, the sleeps were so efficient, my ability to push when I could happen, like everything I wanted to do, I did. And so, like, I know that was my best effort. I know that this year. So I don't know, I feel good about it. I don't feel like I need to go back out and like prove anything like I did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
When you feel fulfilled in something like that.
Yeah. When you train that hard for something, and then
you sacrifice like a lot, right?
Yeah.
In like our life and the training and the time you put into it and the money. Yeah. And then you don't feel fulfilled. Yeah. Like you can put a nice bookend on it,
Yeah, for sure.
Move on to other things in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other adventures, Yeah.
And I don't know. I think a lot of people who do it once want that second go around, because they're like, oh, this is what sleep deprivation feels like. Oh, this is what the foot pain feels like. This is where I can improve. This, like there's so much room for improvement after your first year of a 200. Like you now understand the depths of despair that you're going to go through, and you can mentally handle that. I think.
Yeah, there's something distinctly different with going out and trying a new adventure and challenging yourself to something completely new that's got different variables, and going back to something you've done before and trying to do it better or more efficiently.
100%.
For me, it serves two different goals. You know?
100%.
Like I like both. I like doing both things. I like going back and trying to reattempt the Arizona Trail on a different bike.
Yes.
Or 2 years later with different fitness or whatever.
Yeah.
But then like going out and doing something completely new, like like Pinions is new almost every year, but I kind of know what to expect on that. But
Yeah.
Interesting. Roxy's checking out the camera.
Come here, Rox. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel good about it, and I think I'm okay for a long time, actually. Like I don't think I'll be done with Cocodona in the sense of like I want to volunteer, I want to pace, I want to crew, I want to do something to be involved with it still, because I just think it's a special race, and I think it's special to help people like complete this goal and get them through those low points. So I definitely want to be involved, but I don't want to run it again particularly soon. So
Maybe something else.
Yeah.
I mean, is there like an ideal distance for you now that you've done the whole range pretty much? 500 miles? Just kidding.
No. No, I don't know. I told Logan, like, I don't have anything on the books, but I want to do something that excites me. You know, if I get excited about something, I want to do it. And so I don't know what that is yet. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I maybe it's Moab 240, maybe it's 100, maybe it's a really cool 50K like Canyon de Chelly that's hard to get into or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. So
cool.
It was a fulfilling adventure this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a little break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. And we're back. So, yeah, congratulations on the finish. 2 years in a row.
Thanks.
It's a wild, incredible feat. Is there anything now? It's been, I don't know, how long has it been? A month?
3 weeks, I think.
Weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're pretty
decompressed
from it, more or less. Anything you would have done differently this year? Do you feel like your gear was dialed in? Any tips or anything like that?
Yeah, I probably will get a different bladder. The bladder that I have has like a screw-on cap on the side, or like on the flat side of the bladder, and that was kind of digging into my back when it was empty. So I'd probably change that, and probably go with more of like the one you have where it's like the top.
Roll top.
Yeah, the roll top.
That's a Solomon.
Yeah.
That's made for that hydration pack.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I would like that, but I love that bladder.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll probably get that bladder. It didn't bother me last year, so I don't know why it was so bothersome this year, but it really was bothersome. Like at one point I was just like running like this just to keep the like cap
plastic
off of. Was
it flipped in the wrong direction maybe?
No.
So I mean that also, that bladder, it has like the screw on face like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It also, you can kind of like cross thread it,
mm-hmm.
and then you leak out all your water.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that and we bought that back when that was like the only thing available. They didn't have the roll tops available.
Yeah.
Yet.
I've just been rolling with it because it's never been an issue. But
yeah, the roll tops are great. They also are really easy to keep clean.
Yeah.
Because you can just pull them inside out.
Yeah. Right.
And if you're running like sugar-based drink mixes in there, because that'll get moldy
Yeah,
fast,
right.
and it'll be a real problem.
And that's why I've avoided putting it in that bladder.
Yep.
Like I've always put it in my flasks because I'm like, I can clean those so much better.
Right. Then it's a whole thing to clean that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a superior engineering on the bladder.
Yeah.
So that good point. Interesting point.
Yeah. And the other thing I would change is to have clothes that are not. So I have like leggings that I love to run in, like these. I just have them in like 12 different colors. I would change the materials of the clothing I have. So I had like 3 of these ready to go with like the same shirt that I love to run in normally, but like that goes back to when I freaked out coming into months, like just the material. I needed a different material on my skin. So I would change the material for my leggings and my shirts and have like that difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and let's see, I think pretty much everything else went well. Like I liked having the different shoes. So I had 5 different shoes I rotated through. I had 2 Hoka Stinson 7s. The reason I did 2 was because I was afraid that the foam was going to get so compact in some of those conditions that I wasn't going to feel the cushion anymore. So I wanted to have the 2 to change out. I had a New Balance More Trail. I had an Ultra Forward, which is not a 0 drop shoe. So I ran that like on the Dells section. It's a road shoe. That was good. I had a Nike Terra Kiger and wait, that's 5. Yeah. So I liked that because it really was nice to have different feels in shoes.
Yeah.
So I think I'd roll with that strategy. Like don't use the same shoe over and over. I liked getting my foot into a different feel. That was really nice.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would change much else.
Poles,
Poles.
wrapping your thumbs, wearing gloves. You wore fingerless gloves this year.
Yeah. I had a spot on my hand that was removed by the dermatologist as like a precancerous spot. So I wore some UPF's sun gloves that were fingerless. That was great. I do like that, but I still needed to wrap my thumbs for my poles. I like my poles. I know a lot of people like the Lakey poles, but I use the Black Diamond carbon whatevers. And I like them. I've never had an issue with it. I cut the straps off of them because the straps were super annoying to me. And I don't know. I think I've just gotten efficient with them, so I don't see the need for like the shark thing that they use for the Lakey. I don't know. It's some glove that like fits into the pole.
Oh,
and
wow.
Maybe
It's
I'd like it.
Integrated?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
I'd like, well, it like hooks in. Maybe I'd like it if I tried it, but I'm just so used to my poles, so I don't think I'd change them necessarily. I wouldn't be opposed to trying the Lakey ones, but yeah.
I saw a lot of those like full hat, sun hat things with the covers.
Yeah.
That was looked pretty
I'm
popular
not
on
into
trail.
that because I like my hair to be cute. I know it sounds silly, but like I feel like if I look cute, I can do anything.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, cute goes out the window for me in these sort of things.
No, I'm always like, do my eyelashes look good? Because I can do anything with good eyelashes.
Yeah. You're pretty into that part of it. You said that a few times. You were like, how do I look?
Well,
and I'm like, you look amazing. Perfect. You're like,
like
really?
melting.
Really? Yeah. Beautiful. Now off you go.
Thanks.
That's funny. All right. Yeah. And the food situation with the goo Roctane and
yeah, that worked really well this year.
yeah,
I was happy with how much I could actually intake that.
not a lot of indigestion as much as last year.
No. I mean, some, but not nearly as bad as last year. I think just like you are going to get some of that no matter what, because you just have to take in so many calories. And I think like you're just asking your body to go on no sleep, digest calories, intake all this different food, from sweets to proteins to salty. Like, you're just asking a lot of your gut. So I don't feel like, I know like the indigestion was there, but it was not debilitating this year. Like, I felt like it was completely manageable and okay. Like,
Yeah.
I felt okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So your recovery is pretty much, what does it look like? How long will it take? What are you kind of doing for?
Yeah, so I can't feel the bottom of my feet still, just because, like, I think all that skin needs to peel off to regain some feeling. I am doing some biking. We've done a couple gravel rides. I'm doing little runs, like 3 miles at a time.
Look, I want to clarify something. You went out and did the
Run.
first and the second longest climbs on a bike you've ever done. Okay.
It's true.
So.
But it felt good to get the heart rate up again.
Yeah.
And yeah, my legs were definitely fatigued on that last weekend, but it was like, felt good to like get the blood pumping again and push. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Some like casual stuff, like nothing like really. It's basically however I feel. It's based on how I feel, and I don't feel like I can run great right now. Like, it takes me a while for things to like start firing before I can get my legs under myself to run, but it doesn't feel terrible. So. And
your coach said something about, what was it? Being 50K ready?
Yeah. So I kind of told him, I think I'm good for a while as far as like racing and like goals. Like, I think I just want to chill out and just be able to say yes to adventures, whatever that is. So if it's like rim to rim to rim with you, or like go out for like a 50-mile gravel ride or whatever, like, I just want to be able to say yes. And so like, he was like, yeah, I have a lot of athletes that they come off of these big races and then they don't want to put anything on the calendar because they just did what they wanted to do. So they just want to be able to go out and do whatever it is that sounds fun for the day.
Yeah.
And so he called it 50K ready, and like just being able to like go out and run a 50K tomorrow. Like, that's kind of where I want to be fitness wise. And he was like, if it's a 50 miler, maybe we take a taper week the week before, but you're still like fit enough to just go do it, even with just like a taper week, So yeah, I think like that's a nice place to be for a little bit. And I want to do something that excites me. If I'm going to sign up for like a big adventure, like I want to do like something that's really freaking exciting to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do something that's like, oh, I should do Moab 240 because that's what everyone else does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get pretty over the bike after bikepacking trips, and I want to I try to learn to just be okay with that, not try to force the hand.
Yeah.
And definitely let the excitement come back to me. And if I don't want to ride that day or whatever, I think that's why I like riding and running so much, because I can just switch them up.
Yeah.
Keeps it fresh,
Yeah. And I think like I'm very structure oriented. So it's not that like I'm not going to do anything. It's just like, well, if I want to go ride a bike for an hour today, I can go ride a bike. If I want to run, I can run. If I don't want to do anything, I don't have to do anything. That's not me. But like, because I like moving, but I think I've finished things and then I'm like, oh, well, I guess I should put something else on the calendar. And I don't feel that way right now,
Yeah.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's I like being 50K ready all the time.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have like my couple big things for the year, and that my goals, long goals. Like CTR is a long goal for me this year, and I don't have much on the books after that, but there might be something, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So. All right, you want to do some rapid fire questions?
Okay.
You weren't I didn't have the rapid fire quite locked down the
No,
first
you
time you
didn't.
were on the pod. So now we can revisit the rapid fire. Okay. What's your favorite in-race food?
Pickles.
Pickles.
I love pickles. I don't know. Pizza, maybe? Like, okay, longer distance, pizza.
Okay.
Like, if I need real food, pizza. But I don't know. I could just drink a cup of pickle juice.
Nice cold, ice cold pickle juice
Oh,
on the
man,
rocks.
it's so good.
Yeah, it's good.
When you're craving sodium,
Oh, yeah.
pickles.
What's your favorite post-race food?
It's funny because when you finish Pinions, I was like telling Bodie that you were going to want a salad. Yeah, I think I just want like fresh food, like a salad. Like, because you've been eating calorie dense stuff for so long, you just want something fresh.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to pick one thing, it's going to be a pizza colada omare pizza. Best ever.
It's pretty light and fresh for pizza.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably the lightest, fluffiest
It's got a salad on top of it.
pizza with kale salad on top of it. Yeah, you're right.
I think it's arugula. Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah. Sorry, arugula. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's you don't feel heavy. It's one of the few pizzas that after I'm done consuming the whole thing, I don't feel heavy and slobbily.
Yes.
It's like very light
Fresh.
and fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Good call. What's your spirit animal?
You have dubbed dolphin.
But what's yours?
And I do not agree with dolphin at all. I feel like I love elephants. I don't know. They're slower, but they can make the long treks. And they I don't know. I love their eyelashes. Their eyelashes are like this long.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're beautiful.
Wow.
I know. They're so
Nice.
cute.
What would you say is your endurance superpower?
I don't know how to give up. I don't know how to DNF. And I think that goes a long way in these things because it's really easy when you're feeling terrible to just want to roll over. I don't know how to do that. I don't quit. I will not quit. I've never been in a situation where I've had something catastrophic happen, so I can't speak to that.
You got weather?
I'm doing it.
Yeah. But I mean, what if it's unsafe for weather? What if,
I mean, I'd probably wait it out and then go again. I mean, Janae and I ran Oklahoma City Marathon in tornado weather.
Yeah.
They literally paused the start of the race to let tornadoes go. It hailed, windy, crazy storm in the middle of it. And then I went to catch my flight afterwards, and they had to hold the planes because tornadoes were hitting. And I was like, yeah, but we ran it. So
it's going on your tombstone.
I mean, yeah.
What is it? Jessica No Scratch Turner? That's what I keep saying, but I know it's won't scratch.
Never scratch.
Never scratch.
I think Tyler
won't
said.
Scratch. Don't scratch. Never
spider.
scratch. That's a hard bar to keep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not gonna just quit to quit because I don't feel good.
Yeah.
So
it's impressive. Worst crash or fall?
Whiskey Basin. I think at the time they were calling it the 57K. I think it's since been renamed 60K. There's a spider on this mic.
Oh no.
Anyway.
Trials and tribulations of an outdoor studio. So what happened?
So they shuttle you out to the start of that distance, and I was I think there was an aid station in like mile 6. And you get like these really nice rollers in Prescott. They've got like some little pitches that are up, and then like you get some down, and then there was like this climb that was up this hill, and then like to make up the time, I was just bombing down the down, and my toe caught a rock, and I just went flying. And at first I was like, oh man, like I knew I was messed up. Like my glasses went flying off, like my hands, my knees, I was like, oh man, my ankle, because my toe is the one that caught, and it just like yanked it. And the girl in front of me and the guy behind me came to help me, and they were like, are you okay? And I was like, I have no idea. And I rolled over and I was like, my ankle hurts. Like I can already tell my ankle hurts. And they were like, no, your knee, because they then had seen the damage. And I was like, no, it's my ankle hurts. And they were like, no, your knee is not okay. And then I looked at my knee and I was like, oh no, my knee, like my knee is not okay. And there was just blood gushing. Like I had a really deep cut right on my kneecap, and it was not good. And it had like split my leggings open, and I was like, oh man. And I had, so this was at like mile 8 I fell, and I had, I think 6 more miles to the aid station. And so the total race was like 36 miles. And so I still had 28 miles to go. And I limped into the aid station, and the race director, who was Jamil Corey at the time, had run up the trail to try to find me, because the people who helped me ran ahead and told him like, hey, this girl is not okay. And so he came up to see if I was okay. And the wording he said, I will never forget, because the way he worded it did not let me quit. He said, you're not dropping, right? And I said, no, absolutely not. And I was like, in that moment knew I was going to stop and get patched up and figure out a way to keep going. And I got to that aid station. Medical was like, I don't know what we can do, but it was just like blood, lots of blood coming out. And so they put a little bit of like lidocaine that helps like slow it like tightens your blood vessels so you don't bleed as bad. And then they put like butterfly sutures over it, and or like bandage.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a go. And I kept going, and every aid station I was like, I think I need like new gauze or something to like catch all this extra blood, because every time I'd bend my knee it was like bleeding just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I finished, and people at the finish line were taking pictures with me because they had heard about my fall.
And Jamil is the guy who's in charge of Aravaipa.
Yeah, he founded Aravaipa running.
Right.
Yeah.
So him saying that,
I knew who he
coming
was,
from him,
and I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah, you were like, yeah.
No,
absolutely. I'm not. No, whatever
I'm
you want.
finishing this. Yeah. Yeah. So it was perfect because I finished. It took me forever, but I finished. Yeah. But on the drive home, my whole leg swelled, and I got bruising from mid thigh to my ankle. It was bruised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think crashing while riding can be pretty bad, but usually in bike packing, it's just like slow motion tip overs, kind of. You know, where you just go like rah and you crash. You're not like, I don't know. Like my worst has been running. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You just catch a rock.
Yeah, and I don't know, they sneak up on you.
Yeah.
Whereas on a bike, those rocks, you can kind of absorb it or whatever. But I mean, there's some pretty bad bike crashes for sure, because you have this extra whole thing and a loaded bike and all that. But
higher speeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But running, I mean, there's some.
Yeah.
Who inspires you?
I would say Courtney DeWalter. I just love her attitude. I love how she's always smiling. She's always like such a good steward of the sport. And I think like operating at that high elite level and just being a good human is just something that everyone should strive for. Like, you can still be a really good human, be really competitive, and like have a smile and like just love the sport like that. Like, I love that about her. I just think she's just so cool for that, because she could be really like, and she is a competitor, but she could be really competitive that it's off-putting, and she's not. And she's just very like, hey, I eat gummy bears and nachos, and like just is like having fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, she seems to be one of the rare few at the tip of the spear that aren't controversial, that aren't like boxing themselves in.
Yeah.
To you know, like pigeonholing themselves in like politically or socially or whatever. She just kind of is. She's the best at what she does, and she's agnostic. Like, it's hard to not like her.
Yeah.
And controversy doesn't. I can't think of a single time she's been involved in some kind of controversy.
Yeah. Right.
Like where she's had to,
I think she's just like a good human and has a good outlook on things and like brings positivity to the sport, and like it's just I feel like she's just somebody you want to be around.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Totally. And I mean, I do have to say that the other day I was running around our neighborhood, and like an hour run I do at lunch, and I cross a little one of the main streets onto our side street, and I look over and I see like the long shorts and like the glasses and the look of Courtney DeWalter, and I'm like, no. No. And then I look again and I'm like, Courtney?
Yeah.
Right?
Starstruck.
I say that. Courtney?
Yeah.
And she looks over and I'm like, oh shit, it is Courtney. I was like, hey. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like,
I know.
Because I mean,
starstruck, man.
Yeah, Courtney went on my map when she went on Rogan like many years ago after she just blew all the men out of the water on the Moab 240 or whatever distance, 240. Yeah. And from that point on, I was just like, full legend.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, she was in our neighborhood running.
Yeah.
And I waved, and I wasn't like, what I wanted to say was, just run this way. I have my podcast studio set up for you. Come on down. Here's some beverages, right? I wanted to like, but I didn't want to like over fanboy out, because she totally, I know she just gets that all the time.
She's so cool.
Yeah, she probably, who knows what she would have said, but
she's so.
But yeah, she was just like, hey.
She's just like a normal person.
Yeah.
But like, just such a good attitude.
Yeah, totally, and not like embroiled in like this controversy.
Yeah.
I'm so like why do you got to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's all these characters out there that just they're always involved in something, and it's like, does this stuff just follow you around?
No,
you know,
I think that's why I just love her.
Yeah, you don't have to do it that way, right?
Like, there is a way to do this without. Yeah.
And if I were a sponsor, that would be the person I would want to pick over the controversial person, because everybody loves Courtney.
Yeah.
Only half the people love this person.
Right.
You know, half the people that are all in on this person, but then there's this whole other untapped market. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I
think she's just a great example of what you can be as a really good competitor. And I feel like a lot of people should follow suit, because like, she's doing something right. She's so lovable. Yeah. Like, everybody, I mean, I don't know one person that's like, oh, but she did this. It's like, she's just cool chick.
Yeah. Never. Yeah. Maybe. I think that might be a bit of a unicorn, though.
Maybe.
Unfortunately,
I hope not. Yeah. I hope that more people can be like her.
Yeah. What's your favorite podcast?
I mean, I listen to yours, but
come on, that's not allowed anymore.
You got me into Theo Von, and I just think his like random brain thoughts are just like should be documented.
This past weekend with Theo Von.
Yeah, he's just a different species. If I just want to laugh, like, he has this ability to just say stuff that your brain just isn't ready for. and just catch you in that moment where it's like, yeah, how did you make that association?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
It takes a level of intelligence to be able to pull those things together, though. He's smart in the way he pulls his comedy together.
Yeah,
Whether he
I don't think he's
realizes
doing
it-
it on purpose.
Yeah, I don't think he realizes it, but like, or maybe he does, but it's a level of intelligence for sure.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Theo Von is I don't really like his stand-up comedy as much as I like his podcast.
Yeah, it's interesting to see him in the free form, like just talking to normal humans, and then like, I don't know, he just has like some weird life experience that he ties into some random thing that they're talking about. That
He's like,
it's super entertaining.
Whatever. I used to have two guys. These people would always fight when I was growing up, and there'd be ditch fires, and somebody would end up in the ditch, and he's just talking about the most random stuff ever.
Yeah, I think he just has a unique perspective.
Yeah, it's hard to replicate.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. Yeah, if you're I love putting when I'm out doing stuff for hours and hours and hours, having that randomly come on.
Yeah.
It definitely brings my spirits up.
Yeah.
Worst water source you've ever drank from?
Okay, it's probably Cocodona, actually, this year.
Okay.
That
The story from earlier.
Mile 25. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were lots of floaters. Definitely think my tadpoles swimming in it. Like, lots of algae. Definitely not clear. It was definitely brown. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't great. But I had it in case I needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you could.
I did chug a few big gulps from it, and I was crossing my fingers.
Yeah. That's the kind of water that's good for backup cool off water in case you need it.
Yeah, I was even afraid to do that because I was like, I don't want algae all over my white shirt.
That's hilarious. Okay, and last question is one piece of advice you'd give to a new endurance athlete.
I think you may have asked me this before, so maybe I'll change up my answer because I think I said just start doing it and get involved. And I would say be a student and just soak up as much information as you can and just have fun with it. And at the end of the day, like, that's what it's about, is to have fun while you're doing it. And so like figuring out certain things to make the journey more enjoyable, and listening but experimenting, and just be a student of like how to approach things and gear, and soak up what you can.
It's always changing.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's like this year the men proved that, coming in 2.5 days, like that's insane.
Yeah.
There's been like some experimentation in the last 3 years of Cocodona, right? And all those elites took all of that advice from everything that they learned from the first 3 years and like applied it to this year, and like just blew things out of the water. So
yeah,
I think it's fun to watch. But yeah, just be a student. I guess the other thing, like, get involved, like go do a running group, like, because those people are cool, like they're very welcoming, and I'm the slowest one in the running group. Shout out Peak Trail Runners.
Yeah.
They're awesome though. They're like so inviting. Even if you are the slowest, they don't care. Like,
yeah,
they're just there to enjoy it.
And there's some elite people in there, so it could be a good entry for that learning process.
Yeah, picking their brains. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're welcoming, and yeah, it's definitely not. It does not feel like you're gonna get dropped or like you're in over your head or anything.
Yeah,
it feels just like a cool group run, and I hope that in other places, in other towns, that the group runs are similar.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like the running community is pretty welcoming.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely mixed with biking.
Yeah.
Definitely mixed. You get in with the wrong group and it can feel not welcoming, and and I'm not into that.
Yeah.
But
I think we all just like want to be outside though, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Well, do you want to promote anything or?
I'll be pretty low key.
Okay. Staying low key.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for recapping and taking us through your journey. Tales from Cocodona 2024, episode 1.
Final episode.
Final episode. So, yeah, I appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
And yeah, let's get you out of here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.